Bengals. WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers, right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kirkland and Sommers, the divorce and family law firm of the Miami Valley area, with 5 attorneys to meet your needs. We got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the Reds, who have now won 3 straight. They're 3-1 to start the season. They took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals in their season opening series, and they took game 1 last night against the Pirates. And we're going to talk about the streaking Reds. It's way too early, but have they done enough to kind of catch and kind of really gauge the interest? I want to gauge the interest of Reds fans, but have they done enough to catch your attention, to have your attention, retain it, and keep you here for a little bit more of this ride? We're going to talk about all that coming up here in just a moment. Cincinnati Bengals Duke Tobin met with the media yesterday, had some interesting things to say regarding the Bengals' approach to the upcoming NFL draft, including just how involved is Joe Burrow in a lot of the decision-making process, whether it be free agency or the draft. We'll discuss that. Not so I could beat up on the Bengals, but I am curious people's thoughts on just how much input you should give a rookie quarterback, although he is entering year 2, still has not played a full rookie amount of games yet, as of course he missed the final 2 months of last season. We'll also talk a little Buckeye football. Kev, Buckeye spring football report. We'll get that from Paul Keels coming up around the corner. It's a crowded Buckeye running back room in Columbus. Who will be the Buckeyes featured back in 2021? We'll get to that around the corner. Plus our discussion with ESPN's Mark Adams involving the transfer portal. That's all coming up here this afternoon. So with that being said, how was your week? How was your day?
So far, the week is good. It doesn't feel like a Tuesday. It feels like today should be a Friday, considering the weather is amazing outside. I was telling you before we cracked the mics and everything like that, we're still like halfway working from the studio, halfway working from home. So I was in the living room with the windows open, typing away on my computer and everything like that. Totally lost track of time. Like, oh, I got to get to the studio because we have a show to do live, because it was so nice. Just fresh air, opening the window.
Every time it's nice and you're like running behind, I got to worry that Kev might not come in today because it's a nice day. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw today. I think it was today. The Rangers, home near sold out park.
Yes.
Over 30,000+ fans were in attendance. It's the largest crowd and gathering since, of course. Well, I shouldn't say that because we've seen, between the protests and a lot of the political gatherings and stuff, but outside of that, like any kind of planned event, this is the largest gathered crowd since a year ago at this time when the pandemic shut the entire country down. So found that interesting. Everyone right away has such an aggressive opinion one way or another about it. All I got to say is I was wondering when we were going to see our next event that was going to look like that, whether it be a sporting event, entertainment, a concert, whatever it may be, a show, movie theater, whatever it is. But it was kind of strange watching a game or watching game highlights and seeing shoulder to shoulder, chest to back, ass to back, stomach people just everywhere around you. It was unbelievable. I don't know when we'll see that at Great American Ballpark, but nonetheless, it was an interesting view, just put it that way.
Definitely a sight that we haven't seen in a very long time. It's kind of like refreshing, but scary at the same time for a person like myself that I'm scheduled to get my first vaccine shot this week. Even when I am fully vaccinated, I still will be wearing a mask. I'm just like a little extra cautious with that. But, it was cool to see on TV, people at the ballpark having a good time and everything like that. Longs for the old days of just going out, having a good time with friends and family.
So you're getting yours this week. I get my microchip put in next week. What?
Tracking device.
I get my tracking device, basically, next week. So there's that, but nonetheless. All right. 457-9464. That's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. And I want to hear from you Reds fans, because last night, another Reds victory. Reds over the Pirates, 5-3. Reds now 3-1 to start the season. Keep in mind, the Reds have not had a winning April since the year 2014. It's been a while. The Reds have constantly disappointed their fan base in the first month of the season, going back more than half of a decade now. I'm not like there's so much baseball left to be played. I'm not saying that this team's on to anything right now, but I definitely think that this team is way better than people gave credit for. You don't learn a lot about your team in 4 games, but we have learned a lot about the Reds in a 4-game stretch in previous Aprils. So if we're going to bury this team, if they were 1-3, we would bury them. So if they're 3-1, why would we not praise them? Why would we not feel excited, or at least enjoy the moment that we're experiencing right now? Because what we are experiencing right now is everything that we had hoped that we were going to see from this team a year ago, minus, of course, you don't have Trevor Bauer. And to be honest, you don't even have Sonny Gray. You're winning with a bunch of pitchers that you really know nothing about. You're winning with a bunch of pitchers that probably will not be in the rotation once this rotation gets completely healthy. Tonight, Wade Miley, the lefty, is going to make his first start of the 2021 season. And we all know how rough of a season he had last year due to injury, but he's more healthy. He's a lefty. You got the Pirates coming up on, tonight, game 2, before they close it out in the season series tomorrow. But, man, you got to feel good about what this team's doing right now. You look at the fact that in 4 games, they've put up 32 runs on the board. They've had 7 or more hits in every single game that they've played. They had 8 hits. They put 5 runs up on the board last night on 8 hits. Another error, of course, that going to Eugenio Suarez. And as I said, Eugenio Suarez, to me, every time that he commits an error at short, that error will always be tallied separately for me in a box that's listed off to the side in Reds management. That's how that's going to be, because I'm not going to punish Eugenio Suarez for that. But with that being said, if you are going to bury the Reds, if the Reds started 1-3, you would bury them. Mm-hmm. They're 3-1. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy this. Let's enjoy the fact that the Reds have shown some life right off the bat, because they have historically been so bad in the month of April, not just from a win-loss perspective, but from an overall individual-to-individual performance standpoint. This team has always been a very slow starter in the month of April. We've seen some historically low numbers for guys like Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez, and others in the month of April, and that's not what we are seeing right now. Nick Senzel is swinging a good bat, Jonathan India is swinging a fantastic bat in the early going right now. You've already seen Tucker Barnhart hit make a couple big hits as well. Moustakas and Nick Castellanos, the 2 big additions in free agency a season and a half ago, making their presence be felt. Joey Votto, not the typical Joey Votto we're accustomed to, but he's still putting the bat on the ball, putting the ball in play. Aquino comes in last night, makes a play. All I know is right now, with everything going on, with all the negativity surrounding this team coming into the year, it has been nice coming in and actually looking at this team, showing some heart, showing some passion, showing some excitement, and winning some ball games. They're 3-1. I'm not telling you to call in and do cartwheels and, be a cheerleader, rah-rah, and say this team's winning a World Series. But I promise you would be pissed off if they were 1-3. Absolutely. You would be angry if they were 1-3. You would be disgusted. You would be like, why do I even care? Why do I even support this team? That would be you. My thing is this. Reds fans fascinate me. It's not in the water in Cincinnati that makes fans delusional. Clear, like Cincinnati Reds fans are completely different than Bengals fans. Reds fans know how to hold their team to a high standard. Reds fans know how to call out their team when they're not playing well. I will never understand how you could have all the same fans living in the same city and even stretched out to this city, how you could be fans of teams in the same city, but yet hold both teams to 2 different standards. You guys go crazy when your Bengals team wins 4 games and doesn't look any good. This Reds team looks good, and it's crickets throughout the city right now. I just don't get it, man. Like I said, one more time, they're 1-3. You guys are getting the shovels out and burying this team. They're 3-1. You got to feel pretty good. We're live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Follow and like the show page. Follow along. You can also watch the show live on YouTube. Search ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, 1410 Wing AM. You can watch us live there. Shout out to Scott Campbell. He's watching the show live right now. Scott Campbell says, Kev, teams that win will win games like the Reds did last night. I can't wait to watch tonight again, Game 2, Reds Pirates coming up. The Reds didn't. I mean, they were kind of slow offensively to start the game, but again, they made plays late. They made the plays that they needed to, and the bullpen has been fantastic for this Reds team. And honestly, since opening day, the rotation's been great. They've got great contributions from all their starting pitching, except Luis Castillo, which, as I said, in reaction to opening day, there's not going to be more than a handful of games that you see that type of production from Luis Castillo. I felt pretty good about what we saw on opening day, and since then, the Reds haven't lost.
We know how bad the Pirates are, at least telling how much money they spend on their entire team. I want to sweep. If I'm a Reds fan, I want to sweep. I want to sweep the Pirates as many times. I want to sweep them as many times as we can, because if you beat up on the teams that you're supposed to beat and you actually sweep them instead of just, winning 2 or 3, if you sweep them, that's more, obviously, it's more wins. But in September, as we all know, that's when people start like, well, hold on, we're only 3 games back. Well, you start looking at games that you let slip through your fingers to a team that ain't no good. If you get those games back and you win them, then you're in a better position. So if I'm a Reds fan, I'm thinking about sweep, man.
Absolutely. And again, the Reds right now, they've won 3 straight. They took the final 2 games against the Cardinals in convincing fashion. I mean, they blitzed. I mean, they put 27 runs up on the board in the first 3 games of the season against a much better Cardinals team than a Pirates team. They put 5 up on the board last night. They're 3-1, all games being at home. They're going to have their first road game coming up here later on this week. Again, they have game 2 tonight. Game 3 tomorrow will be a 12:30 first pitch. They'll bleed into our game a little bit, so we'll be on the air late tomorrow. But then they have, the Diamondbacks coming up and the Giants coming up. Kev, when I did my projections for the season, I don't ever predict the Reds to sweep. I just don't. It's hard to predict a sweep.
Right.
But you got that win last night. They have that momentum that's continuing to build. And the one thing that David Bell is doing, and you know me last year, I rarely complimented David Bell. David Bell is doing it's 4 games, but I have been more impressed with David Bell in these 4 games in his entire time in Cincinnati, because Kev, sometimes I know as a manager, it's your baby. You want to move pieces around. You want to be in control. Kev, he's letting this team play. He has the same lineup for the 3rd time already this season, and we're heading into game 5 tonight. He is letting the lineup play out the way it's supposed to. He's leaving the hot guys in. He's leaving Castellanos alone, Moustakas alone. He's leaving Jonathan Indy alone. I can't tell you how many times we'd see guys on 3, 4, 5 game hitting streaks, and he'd give them a rest on game 6. I'm just like, what are you doing? Or they would do the whole matchup excuse. Well, the analytics say that he doesn't pitch well, he doesn't hit well. If you're going to use a full body's work of numbers and ignore the numbers of what the run that they are in right now, you got to let guys play through these streaks. Right. Sometimes you got to let them play through bad streaks, Kev, but you also got to let them play through good streaks. And I got to give David Bell a lot of credit. He's letting them do that, and they just look more comfortable and locked in. And I think when you're not looking over your shoulder every other at bat, wondering when your time's going to be called to be pulled out, I think these guys are getting settled in pretty early.
Tuesday, April 6, 2021, 3:11 p.m. Mark it down. Kenner showed some love for the Reds manager.
The bottom line is, I think the reason I'm so angry at David Bell half the time is because I want to be a huge David Bell fan. Because of who he is, the family he comes from, coming from the area. I want that to work. I want him to be a part of the next special Reds run. When we look back at the history of the Reds franchise, it would be so cool to have him be a part of a special run. He deserves that. But man, I'm like, sometimes it's not that the team's bad. You're digging your own hole half the time. He's not doing that. He's letting this team play. And I don't care that it was the Pirates. They took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals. And if you don't give up 10 runs from your starting pitcher, they're probably 3-0, 4-0 to start the season right now. So I feel pretty good. I don't say that often. I do feel pretty good about this Reds team, and I don't think I'm overreacting. Ray Arp on Facebook. Again, head to Facebook. You want to jump in on the conversation, you can do so. Ray Arp says that the Reds are rolling and that he hope it continues. And he says also that they should, but we know how that goes as far as, keeping that excitement and keeping that momentum going when it comes to this team. The Reds lose tonight. I'm not going to crack the mic tomorrow, or I guess by the time they would have played 2 games by the time we come on the air tomorrow.
Wow.
And the chance, they could be 5-1, or they're 3-1 now. They could be 4-5-1 by the time we come back on the air tomorrow. They split though these final 2 games with the Pirates. I'm fine. It is what it is. You're not going to sweep every series, but you got to win every series, which makes one of these next 2 must wins. you got to approach both of them as must-wins, especially when you're playing a bad team like the Pirates. You can't drop games to them, because if you miss the playoffs by 1 or 2, 3 games at the end of the season, you're not going to look back at that opening day blunder against the Cardinals. You're not going to look back at some of these, games you lose by 1 run throughout. You're going to look at the losses to teams like the Pirates. You're going to say, of the 7 losses we had to teams that are atrocious like the Pirates, if we get 1, 2, 3 of those games that we're supposed to, we're in the playoffs. These are the ones I always worry about, not in April, but that can come back and haunt you late in August and September. So that's what I'm worried about. But I think the Reds are in good shape. I'm happy with what I've seen. Jonathan India, man, good for him. But the better he plays, it's going to be, the Reds are going to be in a tough situation moving forward, because I don't know how you address the issue at shortstop if Jonathan India becomes unmovable. You can't move him. Eugenio Suarez, his bat's too important to move him from shortstop, even though he's a liability defensively. And then if Moustakas continues swinging the bat the way he does, you can't make any changes there. You can, but the one move that they can make, the franchise has proven that their inability to be able to move on from Joey Votto. Joey Votto's the weak link here. You can move Moustakas to first base. You could put Eugenio Suarez, or you can keep Moustakas at third. You can keep Moustakas at first to replace Votto. You can move Suarez back to third, and you can get your shortstop and keep Jonathan India a dominant second baseman right now, at least in the early start to his career. My concern is, if I could add my Kinner negativity for just a second, they're off and rolling, but the more that this works, the more it doesn't, because it's still exposing the big hole that they have, that you can't keep Suarez at short any longer than you have to, and they act like they're handcuffed. We have no choice. You do have a choice. Get Joey Votto out of that starting lineup every day. He is not an everyday starter anymore. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if he's been getting a couple hits throughout the season. Joey Votto is the only one, and I'm anti-Joey Votto, but if the Reds want to show the fans that they're serious about winning, you got to make those tough decisions like the Cardinals did with Albert Pujols. You got to make those tough decisions. You got to move on. Sometimes it's better to move on early than late, and I promise you, if the Reds moved on from Joey Votto yesterday, they were still too late. That's kind of where we're at with this. And you don't even have to move on. But he doesn't need to be playing every single day. That's my concern moving forward, is that the Reds are going to fall into this trap of, we're playing really well. Yes, but you could play even better. You could upgrade at first base. Moustakas is playing great. Suarez is playing great. Second's playing great. If there's one area in the middle, in the infield that you can improve at, to me, I'm looking at that being Joey Votto right there. You could improve there, but that's something that I don't anticipate really picking up steam as far as conversation is concerned until down the road. Doug Tobin says first basemen are supposed to have 90 to 110 RBIs, not 60. Yes, and I think, Doug, the concern is that they're paying him too much. They pay him too much. Actually, I do not think that they're paying him too much money. He deserved that contract, but he's getting $25 million a season, and I don't think they could stomach putting that on the bench. But you have to understand what's more important: stomaching $25 million a year, playing less games throughout the year, and actually having a proven talent at first and maneuvering the lineup around to have guys who you can count on. I think, to me, winning, charge it to winning. Oh, $25 million. I always hear Bobby Carpenter saying that all the time. Even if it's things that make you uncomfortable, even if it's things that don't make a lot of sense, if it's going to put you in a better position to win, I don't think the Reds have a choice but to at least be prematurely planning what they want to do, because you're not moving Moustakas. Suarez, you need to find a way to get back to third base, and the best way you do that is moving Moustakas to first and then finding a shortstop, which the Reds should have done. And it doesn't even have to be Francisco Lindor, which obviously isn't an option anymore. But yeah, the Reds really dropped the ball when it comes to that. But they're 3-1, and that is all that matters. And David Bell, I'm impressed right now with how the team's responded to him, and I like that he's getting out of the way a bit. He's not over managing, and I can give David Bell the benefit of the doubt early. Kev, maybe we could chalk up some of those errors to the fact that he, first year manager, first 2 years as a manager, he's kind of learning to step out of the way a bit, and that's what I'm liking. Is as he's developing, this team's developing, and this team could be a winner in 2021. Fans, be more excited. They're 3-1, damn it. Like I said one more time on the way out, if they're 1-3, you're burying them. They're 3-1. Enjoy it. Let's have a little fun. Reds and Pirates, game 2 tonight, 6:40, the first pitch. right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. If you want to see the lineup for tonight's Reds and Pirates game, head to wingam.com. There you will find the lineup. You'll also get to watch highlights from last night's victory over the Pirates in Game 1. And again, you'll be able to check out wingam.com daily for updated lineups whenever those are given to us from the team, as well as highlights from the previous game and all Reds content. So make sure you go and check that out. On the way out, Kev, Scott Campbell says this: the situation with Votto reminds me of the situations the Reds had with Dave Concepcion at the end of his career as Barry Larkin's career was beginning. You're right. It's like you wanted to hold on to Concepcion. You wanted to just hold on to that piece of history right there. But you knew you had this star coming in, and it's like you gotta find a happy medium, or you just got to move in the youth movement. And right now, Joey Votto is slowing him down. You're only as fast as your slowest runner, and he's going to slow him down at
cross
some point.
Country.
He's going to slow him down at some point. That's my biggest concern. Scott, Doug, Ray, and others, I appreciate your input on social media. You guys can be a part of that as well. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, or follow along on YouTube. Search ESPN 1410 Wing AM. Follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can watch and chime in daily, or give us a call, 457-9464. Reds fans, we'd love to hear from you. Want to talk a little Buckeyes, Kev?
OH.
All right, we got a Buckeye spring report. We got a Buckeye spring football report coming up for you on the other side, a little 2-minute report from the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels. That's coming up, and then we'll follow up with reaction to what you can expect from the Buckeyes this fall or this spring. And how's that running back room looking? A little crowded. Got Master Teague back. You also got the number one running back in the country as far as incoming freshman is concerned. So we'll talk about that. What could the running game look like for the Buckeyes? We'll get to that next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 80. Tonight's going to be mainly clear, a low around 55. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy once again, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com today. That's BABBEL.com.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
Why would I sell the car of my dreams for a food truck that wasn't? Or rattle off condiment combinations in my sleep? Extra mayo, all the mustard, ketchup on the side. I mean, when did an app become my favorite tool? Nothing personal, Spatula. It's because I wanted to make the best burger ever. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
At Menards, save big money in your next project with 11% off everything. Keep your family and home safe with a Swan security camera. Swan cameras connect to your Wi-Fi so you can monitor activity from your smartphone. An indoor-outdoor battery-operated Wi-Fi camera is $99.99 after 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 10th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber.
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber, signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Touch-free QR code payments. Shop safe with PayPal.
How do you protect yourself from the new forms of the coronavirus? Here you go. Got a mask that fits good and snug? Perfect. Now, give your neighbors at least 6 feet of space and avoid crowds, because all that stuff still works too. Look, I'll definitely get my vaccine when it's my turn, but now isn't the time to let your guard or your mask down.
We can do this. Learn more at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
How clean is your nose? Most airborne germs and allergens invade through the nose, your body's air filter. It's first line of defense. You wash your hands and brush your teeth, but what about your nose? Did you know there's an easy way to keep your nose clean and help your body protect itself? It's called Navage Nasal Care. Navage uses powered suction to clean your nose by flushing out pollen, mucus, bacteria, and viruses. Millions use Navage for fast, all-natural relief from sinus congestion and allergies, and to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage is easy to use, affordable, and it comes with an absolute guarantee of satisfaction. And 50,000 independent online reviews averaging 4.7 stars show just how much people love their Navage. You wash your hands and brush your teeth every day. Now you can clean your nose and help protect your health with Navage. At Navage.com, CVS, Walgreens, Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, and Rite Aid. Navage. Navage. Make good nasal hygiene your new normal with Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Express Employment Professionals matches people with the right skills with the right jobs. To find your next job, visit expresspros.com and find the location near you.
It's time to swing for the fences. Want to win $1,000? Be listening weekdays once an hour starting at 6 a.m. for the winning word and enter it at wingam.com. It's the Swing for the Fences $1,000 a day giveaway right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM.
Ohio State football spring practice report.
Plenty of attention this spring in the running back room. Will Master Teague secure the starting job? How will the Buckeyes replace the loss of Trey Sermon, now the single-game all-time rushing leader at Ohio State? Will a deep room of running backs fill the role by committee, or will someone grab the top spot? Highly regarded incoming freshman Travion Henderson is battling for that spot. He credits Master Teague, along with returning running backs, for helping him upon arrival.
He's mentored me very well. Like when I got on campus, like he was just showing me where to go for real, showing me what to do. And so is the other guys, like everybody. They've been showing me where to go and what to do. And that's helped out a lot because I've never been here or anything. And I didn't know like what this program was about. And so they taught me about the program, how the coaches expect things like this way or that way.
This report was brought to you by Farm Credit Mid-America and the American Dairy Association Mideast. I'm Matt Andrews on the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by The James.
At Farm Credit Mid-America, we're big fans of the Ohio State University's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences. Together, we're developing the next generation of agriculture needed to support those who grow, harvest, and produce high-quality product, and preparing them to rise up to the challenges of an evolving and growing industry. We're proud to stand behind them as we work together to empower future generations who have a passion for agriculture and a desire to secure its future. Learn more at e-farmcredit.com.
Here's to the ones who put in the work, the no days off, rise and grind warriors who live by the oath of my body is my temple. And when their temple needs to rebuild after a long workout, athletes of all types choose low-fat chocolate milk. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. Chocolate milk turns Motivation Monday into Flex Friday. Crush your goals with the help of a real recovery drink. Try it for yourself. Built with chocolate milk is brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, and that was your daily Buckeye Spring Football Report, which, of course, we'll bring to you daily. That's why it's called your daily Buckeye Football Spring Report. But every day up until the spring game, which is coming up around the corner, which we're super excited about, we'll be bringing you some spring football reports from Buckeye Spring Camp, so keep that in mind. And, of course, today's conversation piece was about TreVeyon Henderson and that running back by committee mentality that Ohio State's going to have. I think that that's what they're saying right now, because you know what you have in Master Teague. You know that it's good enough, but it's not good enough. We saw that in the national championship game. We thought that, Trey Sermon was going to be complimentary back to Master Teague. And by the end of the year, we're like, man, Trey Sermon's the featured back and he's the complimentary piece to him. So if the complimentary piece, which is Master Teague, is your primary back next year, it's not a terrible thing. Experience, he's a powerful running back. Of course, you're going to have him. He's going to have a full off season under his belt. Things returning to normal. He's going to be in better shape. But what this reminds me of heading into next season for Ohio State, Kevin, is this reminds me of J.K. Dobbins' freshman season. It reminds me of that because you had Mike Weber, who was the complimentary back to Ezekiel Elliott. And then Ezekiel Elliott leaves, and then now Mike Weber's the featured back. But then J.K. Dobbins, his freshman season, has that ginormous debut against Indiana, and really never looked back since then. And then it was kind of just a balance between those two. And Ohio State had a dominant run game between the two. Both were 1,000-yard backs and so on and so on. Master Teague right now, if we had to say, who is the featured back right now, it's Master Teague. But Master Teague is Mike Weber, and I think TreVeyon Henderson is going to be J.K. Dobbins. And as good as J.K. Dobbins was, and we all know it, TreVeyon Henderson, there was a lot of buzz about J.K. Dobbins, but there's a million times more buzz about TreVeyon Henderson and what he brings to the table. One of the number one running back coming into this class, and that's going to be something that to keep an eye on, because right now, as this team is transitioning into a new quarterback, and not just new, but a young quarterback. This isn't like even Justin Fields, who was still technically new as a starter. The guy was so damn talented that it was one of those things where you knew you didn't have to worry about him getting adjusted to the game. I really like what the Buckeyes have coming back. It's a whole lot of new. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but Kev, like I said, TreVeyon Henderson is going to be J.K. Dobbins, and I think you're going to see Master Teague become the Mike Weber, where they're both going to be complementary pieces. But I think as each game goes on and we get a few games into the season, I think Henderson's going to be the best running back, the running back for the Ohio State University, the featured back by the end of the season.
It's so many names we know in that running back room, from Cincinnati's own Myron Williams, who got into the national championship game. He got a little bit of run in that game. Still Chambers, Xavier Johnson, obviously Master Teague, TreVeyon Henderson. But the guy that seems like he's been at Ohio State for 10 years, DeMario McCall. He's bounced back from wide receiver to the H to the running back room. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He kickoff return, punt return. I just remember the one game that he actually got carries at running back was that game versus Maryland, where Ohio State defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, and they were in a shootout with Maryland. And I know everybody looks at Dwayne Haskins as that guy that won him that game, but really was DeMario McCall and his ability not only to run the ball in between the tackles, but to catch the ball out the backfield, as well as to pick up the blitz. I'm looking for a big year from DeMario McCall. Maybe not as much as people are expecting from like a Master Teague or a TreVeyon Henderson, but I think this is finally going to be the year for him to make those big plays more than just, in the return game and everything like that. I want to see him involved in the game. I really thought that he would do that this past season, but for whatever reason, he wasn't. But he's returning for that 6th year, that extra year that the NCAA granted. So he's going to be back. So I will look out for DeMario McCall having something to say about who's going to get a lot of carries in that running back room.
I agree about DeMario McCall, again, just being an older veteran, too. I mean, that's the thing. We want to throw TreVeyon Henderson's name out there. But again, J.K. Dobbins was a freshman, made that impact. DeMario McCall, you talked about how he's been very versatile. He's getting cornerback reps. Cornerback, not quarterback. He's getting cornerback reps in spring this spring. So at the spring game, you're going to see DeMario McCall getting a lot of secondary looks as well. And I don't know if that's, for one, that speaks volumes about just how much of a freak athlete he is, that he's able to be that versatile. But it is concerning that the Buckeyes are relying on him to fill a cornerback need. Like, the Buckeyes are going to be flawed this year. This is going to be a very good team, but this isn't one of those seasons heading in where we know what the Buckeyes are. There's so many question marks on defense and offense, but we know that there's great players to plug those holes. But I think, to me, as much as I love the idea of DeMario McCall being that versatile, being able to be moved around, I think that to me, that signals that there's a concern as far as the depth at secondary is going to be concerned for Ohio State. That worries me. But Demario McCall, the reason I don't know if he's going to, how much attention is that going to take from him as far as getting the running back reps, because it's a crowded running back room.
Right.
But this is what Ryan Day signed up for. This is a good problem to have, by the way.
Right.
When you have 5 starting potential running backs and you could only really give the majority of the carries to 2, that's a good problem to have if you're Ryan Day. When you have 4 legit quarterbacks that could start for pretty much 90% of the teams in college football across the country, and you could only start 1, that's a good problem to have. It's going to lead to some headaches. It's going to lead to some uncomfortable conversations. It's going to lead to some unfortunate departures as far as transferring is concerned. But this is a good problem to have if you are Ohio State, that you're at the point where your running backs are looking to play cornerback because there's just too many guys in the room. Ohio State's loaded at every position, but this speaks more. I'm more impressed with Demario McCall's ability to be able to potentially play in the secondary, but I also think that is a red flag for Ohio State as far as you're looking within from a running back to help you in the secondary. That's kind of concerning if you ask me, but nonetheless, if he does accomplish that, that could be one of those storylines at the NFL draft years from now that, hey, he's a running back converted, cornerback that's now being selected in the top of the NFL draft or whatever. Who knows how it's going to pan out? But you're right. But Demario McCall, I think his veteran leadership, it may not lead to carries at the running back position. It sounds like it's going to be needing that presence on the defensive side.
Wow. I'm glad you even told me, because I didn't know that. And I just Googled it. And I'm reading an article right now about some position changes for the Buckeyes. Demario McCall is moving to DB, and G. Scott is moving to tight end. He was a 5-star receiver coming out of high school and everything like that. Very jacked up, diesel as an 18-year-old. So he's making that switch over to tight end. So, these are a lot of things that get worked out during the spring. There's nothing set in stone. You try it out during spring. You see how it works out for the kid. You see if the kid likes it, and then you go into fall camp, all guns are blazing. But you're right. So many 5-star guys come in at the position of cornerback for Ohio State. We think about the Jeff Okudas and everything like that, and going back all the way back, all the way back to Sean Springs and all those guys. But last year, the secondary was an issue for the Buckeyes. There's no question about it. And you think about the guys that are returning, you look at Seven Banks, you look at, how he played at the end of the season was at best. And then you look at Williamson, he's coming back for his 6th year as well. So these guys have been here for a while, really haven't made that bona fide impact at the DB spot that we're used to seeing at Ohio State. So, an athletic guy like Demario McCall getting into the mix, I like it a lot. Competition. Hey, man, your spot's not sold up. You don't have it on lock. We're going to switch this guy who's been willing to bounce around the offensive side of the ball, and he's willing to bounce to the defensive side of the ball. He's hungry. He wants to play. Let's see if you can hang on to that spot. I like it.
Yeah, this is from an article, this is from Letterman Row. In Ohio State, between 11 Warriors, Bucknuts, you look at Letterman Row, so many great outlets out there for you to take in a lot of this content, but this particular piece comes from Letterman Row and Austin Ward. But it goes on to say that Ohio State coach Ryan Day did confirm, and this was from 3 days ago, did confirm the move shortly after practice, a position swap defensive players and coaches are excited about. Nice. So this doesn't sound like it's he's dabbling in it. This is a full-on defensive swap. So Demario McCall is he has invested 100% into this position swap for the time being. They could end up not liking what they see this spring and just kind of, go back to the drawing board. But I think this is why spring football is so important, by the way. They didn't have spring football a year ago. Right. You couldn't meet all off season. So a lot of the things that they could have experimented with last off season, that, when you have these freak athletes that are athletic enough and know the game well enough and are, talented enough to be able to play multiple positions, Ryan Day couldn't really experiment with these types of things a year ago. So this is one positive about getting back out on the field in spring. I know a lot of people say, well, spring football, who cares? These are the things that people care about, because it's like, okay, well, what are they doing in the off season? This is one of those. But this is the quote from Ryan Day saying that, again, if you're just tuning in, Demario McCall Ohio State running back, one of many talented running backs in the running back room that are going to be battling for carries next season. Well, he may not be battling for carries at all because he's battling it out to potentially be a starting cornerback. The defensive guys have really been excited about him, Ryan Day said. He's really shown up in practice. This is something that he brought up. It's so cool when you see somebody bring it to you as opposed to a coach bringing it to a player. But that's always a slippery slope, though, because with that being said, you know how many players that are playing a position now that aren't getting playing time that would love to, some of those players could read that quote and say, man, Ryan Day, our coach loves when we approach him about changing positions. This reminds me of the transfer portal a bit. It's like, okay, it's a good thing. Some people say, well, it's good to have players be able to go and find, more comfortable situations. But then you end up having 1,200 names in the transfer portal. Oh, it's good that players are coming up to us and pitching different ideas. And then you have the entire roster. You have offensive linemen wanting to play quarterback. You have punters wanting to be linebackers. You know what I mean? But with that being said, I do find this story interesting is that it was kind of him being a veteran player. You've been a running back your entire career, and now you're coming to your coach in your last year of eligibility, your extra year that was given to you to change it up. We saw that about Braxton Miller a few years ago. Mm-hmm. That was a very ballsy move on his part. I don't know who I believe on that. Urban Meyer said that it was a Braxton Miller decision, that Braxton Miller approached him with the idea of switching to wide receiver. I don't know. It's one of those wink, wink, like we're both going to agree that you came to us about it. Like, I don't know who I believe in that situation. I don't know. Braxton Miller, who was so damn talented, I just have a hard time believing that he went to Urban Meyer and said, yeah, I don't want to be a quarterback anymore. But it ended up working out. It gave him an opportunity to get drafted into the NFL and make a name for himself. So it wasn't a mistake. I just still go back to that, Kevin. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that he's the one that made that decision, but I always talked about as that being one of the tougher decisions Urban Meyer had to make about not only who's the starter, who's the backup.
Right.
You have to go to Braxton, one of his favorite recruits of all time, and tell him that you're not even going to be the backup. That's why I have a hard time believing that Braxton made that decision. But kudos to Braxton at that time for being a team player willing to change positions so late in his career. Same thing with DeMario McCall. I think that speaks volumes about who he is as a person and as a teammate, most definitely. Because he could have said, Kev, transfer portal. Yeah. What do you mean? I've been here a long time. You're not going to give me snaps. You're not going to give me carries. I've earned it. Then get me the hell out of here. I respect the hell out of what he's doing.
Taking advantage of the extra year eligibility and maybe seeing the writing on the wall saying, you know what, it's two guys ahead of me already, and a Myron Williams and a Master Teague, and now they got this 5-star guy coming in, and I see the holes in our secondary with Marcus Williamson and Cameron Brown, who's coming off an injury last year. Tariq Johnson, a 5-star guy who hasn't really worked out. Seven Banks been all right. Another 5-star guy that's just been all right. Man, maybe I can get in there and mix things up. Maybe I can be the third corner, or maybe I can even take somebody's spot. Because let's be clear, man, DeMario McCall was a 5-star dude coming in Ohio State. Yep. So, most 5-star dudes have those aspirations of playing on Sunday. So maybe he sees an avenue where if he plays to the best of his ability, maybe he can be cashing checks and playing football on Sundays.
That, and he's like, I just watched Sean Wade all last year, and he's about to get drafted. I mean, if he could get drafted playing like he did, I could at least on my worst day play like he did on his best day last year. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers, right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Kirkland and Sommers, the divorce and family law firm of the Miami Valley area, with 5 attorneys to meet your needs. Like I said, I love those storylines right there. But Travion Henderson, as we wrap up here, I just look at him as the J.K. Dobbins. I look at this as being the J.K. Dobbins, Mike Weber situation all over again, where, it was Mike Weber, who, by the way, he was a 1,000-yard back, Kev, but it was just, It was just dull. It was dry. And I'm not disrespecting. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, fans never bought into him. Think of how many 1,000-yard backs for a team are out there that we drool over. Mike Weber was just but that was the hard part about replacing Ezekiel Elliott. You were replacing flash and flare, and you were not any of those things, but you were another 1,000-yard back. And then you're sandwiched in the middle with Dobbins coming in, and then he showed signs of what we saw from Zeke, just a little bit less power and just more finesse and speed. And that's kind of what made him the fan favorite more so right away. But Henderson, there's a lot of expectations for him coming in, and I just think that's a lot of hype for a kid to come in and wait a year or two before he makes, an impact. And that's why I'm really hoping that he's the one that takes credit. Because if it's CJ, imagine this, Kev, I want it to be consistent. moving forward. I would love to see a wide receiver, quarterback, running back core that is around for the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. And think about the talented wide receivers that Ryan Day filled up these classes with the last couple of years. Now you can get Travion Henderson and CJ Stroud to be your running back your quarterback running back duo for the next 2 years, along with that wide receiving core. In that offensive line that's always, one of the best in football. I mean, I'm just saying Ohio State's in good hands, and it doesn't just have to mean that it's Henderson. It could be any of those guys. But, man, Ohio State's in good shape moving forward. It's never rebuild. It's just reload, and it's just a matter of which of those names are going to be a part of the reload. That's going to be the big thing.
Travion Henderson is already enrolled, and, that became a thing way, way back when Maurice Clarett was like an early enrollee. Now it's a given, like, all right, man, what 5-star guys are going to early enroll, do, mat drills and spring training, spring football, and be guns a-blazing ready for the fall. And, that's like that standard protocol for these guys now. So I expect him definitely to be in the rotation early in the season. I'm not saying he's going to start off the bat, but, they're going to give him everything possible that he can handle so he can be ready for the fall. It ain't going to be on the Ohio State coaching staff that he's not ready for the fall. It's all going to be on his shoulders because he's there. He's working out with the guys now. He's learning the playbook. I saw that a couple guys got their black stripes off their helmets already. He wasn't one of them yet, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be a baller for Ohio State. So my recommendations for him, stay in that playbook, listen to the veteran guys, and, something that coaches love, blocking and picking up the blitz and protecting the quarterback. Coaches love that.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll step away for a few moments. And, Reds fans, if you're interested in attending Reds games this year, of course, we know that it is limited capacity. But there's a special deal right now that the Reds are running to help you get cheaper Reds tickets to attend games at Great American Ballpark. I'm going to tell you, there's only one simple little thing you have to do. There's just one simple little thing that you have to do. And if you show proof of doing this simple little thing that's being asked of you, you are going to get $10 Reds tickets. What is that simple little thing that the Reds are asking you Reds fans to do to be able to attend games at Great American Ballpark with significant savings? I'll tell you what next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I have 2 dogs, Sam and Bailey. Both are golden retrievers. Poor Sam, he was a mess. Always itching. His paws were soaking wet all day from just constant licking. He had bald spots on his back. I just don't like putting shots and steroids into your dog all the time. DINOVITE.com. Dynovite is nutrition. Probably 2 weeks after he started Dynovite, I started seeing great improvements. And today, 99% of his issues are non-existent. It's amazing stuff. Since Bailey has been 12 weeks old, he's been a Dynovite dog, and he has 0 issues today. He won't eat his food without Dynovite. When I get out the Dynovite, my dogs actually salivate, like I'm getting them a treat. They drool over it. Dynovite is the best thing you can do for your dog.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite from DINOVITE.com.
Police officers know it only takes a few seconds of someone texting and driving for things to go terribly wrong. That's why officers are increasing enforcement of texting and driving laws. So put your phone down when driving, or be prepared for the consequences. You drive, you text, you pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Printing you new signs for the times.
Get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Staples has hundreds of designs to choose from, or just upload your own.
And now at Staples, get 15% off signs, posters, or decals when you spend $75 or more.
Some items printed same day when ordered before 2 p.m.
Save big on custom printing at Staples.
Ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit one offer per customer. See store associate or visit staples.com/signage for details.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsommers.com. That's Sommers with an O, kirklandandsommers.com.
An MBA from Ohio Dominican University fits your goals and your life.
One thing I try to do with any new challenge I face at work is to ask myself, why am I doing it this way? And really take a look at the process. I learned that here at Ohio Dominican, to think critically and to look at all sides of a challenge.
Earn your MBA 100% online in just 16 months. 7 concentrations available, now including healthcare administration. Get started at ohiodominican.edu/MBA.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Your car in need of a cleaning? We've got you covered. We have all the wash and wax products you're looking for, from interior to exterior cleaners. They'll help you freshen up your ride inside and out, while keeping it protected from dirt and grime that can damage your car. And you can get everything you need even faster. Just order online at AutoZone.com and choose free same-day store pickup. Getting your job done just got easier. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Have you been seeking a final resting place for your loved one's cremated remains? Are you tired of endlessly searching to find a permanent home for a family member that gives you peace of mind, offers more security than the mantle, and doesn't cost thousands of dollars? This is Mark Davis from Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery, located at 8135 North Dixie Drive. We are pleased to announce a new product that offers families the opportunity to give their loved ones a permanent, serene, final resting place for as little as $300. Call us today at 937-890-1831.
Express Employment Professionals matches people with the right skills with the right jobs. To find your next job, visit expresspros.com and find the location near you.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kevin Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So the Cincinnati Reds have a special deal for you Reds fans that if you want to attend Great American Ballpark for games this year, they're not making it a mandate to be vaccinated. However, they will give a nice little deal on tickets if you do get vaccinated and show proof of vaccination at the Reds ticket window in Cincinnati. So fans who show their COVID-19 vaccination card at the ticket windows at Great American Ballpark can get $10 tickets for Monday through Thursday games for the months of April and May. My guess is this would probably be extended further into the summer, but I think they want to see how this goes. But again, the Cincinnati Reds are offering $10 tickets to fans who show their COVID-19 vaccination card at the Great American Ballpark ticket window with at least one one shot completed. So you don't even need both. So, if you get the first shot and then you get the tracking device put in later, you could prove that, you could show that later. But the offer is good for Monday through Thursday Reds home games in the months of April and May. Here's Phil Castellini's comments on it, saying, as more fans across the Reds country are getting vaccinated, we want to thank them for doing their part to help make our community safe, said Phil Castellini, Reds president and chief operating officer. Keep in mind that the offer can only be redeemed in person at the ballpark. A maximum of 6 tickets can be purchased with each vaccine card shown. All tickets and games are subject, of course, to availability. But I do find that, pretty interesting. So here's some of the series that are in the mix for this. Of course, right now, the series that does involve the Reds and the Pirates. But the Pirates series, the Diamondbacks, the White Sox, the Giants, and the Phillies all coming up in the months of April and May. Look, I saw, and the reason I bring this up is because just like in typical fashion and typical our world that, we live in now, this has infuriated some people. Folks, I honestly thought that we were going to get to a point where to even go to a Reds game or a Buckeye game or anything, that we were going to have to show proof of vaccination just to go to the game. Mm-hmm. And all they're saying is, hey, we want to reward you for getting vaccinated to keep from spreading it to your neighbors and all that type of thing. So, hey, we're going to give you a deal on tickets. I have no clue why people are getting angry at this. I'm getting angry that people are getting angry, because my thing is this: why are you mad that they're just rewarding people for getting the vaccination with cheaper tickets? They're not even telling you that you have to get it to go to games, which is honestly where I thought that this was going, Kev. So this is actually not even a big deal. For one, it's a good opportunity for those who are getting vaccinated to get good, cheap $10 tickets, and they're not even horrible seats. They're view-level seats. So take advantage of this opportunity. But just like everything in life, there has to be the select few that ruin everything with their negativity. I can't believe I thought this was a positive thing, and this is a negative thing, apparently. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I just don't get it. Like I said, I really did think that we were heading in a direction where I was like, man, are we going to have to show proof of vaccination just to get into the shoe this fall? It wouldn't surprise me if that still is the case. I mean, it could be, to open up the Great American Ballpark to full capacity, you have to show proof of vaccination. I have no clue how that's going to go. But the bottom line is, for people to get this angry over this, it's just a special offer. They're not telling you can't go if you haven't been vaccinated. They're just saying, hey, we're going to reward those who have. That's like saying, what? Military gets cheap tickets? What the hell? How come the military gets cheaper tickets and we don't? This is a very stupid thing to be mad at, people.
Yeah, people need to relax, man. The Cincinnati Reds and Major League Baseball are trying to do a ploy to get people to get vaccinated, and I have no problem with that.
But I know my rights. My rights say I don't have to get it. My rights.
Yeah, you don't have to get it. But if you want this discount, you sure gonna want it. And the way the Reds are playing baseball right now, you gonna want to be in the.
Just like you have to be a kid to get the free kids tickets. Just like you have to be, a cop or firefighter to get, when they do the special ticket deals for them, or military. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense. Just continue to not be vaccinated and be quiet, and let people get vaccinated and get their cheap tickets without having to ruin it for them. It just doesn't make any sense. Stick to sports, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, like I said, I'm getting my tracking device put in next week, and then I'll be able to get these cheaper Reds tickets. So I'm pretty excited. So not only will the government be able to follow me everywhere I go, I'll also get cheap Reds tickets. I cannot wait. I mean, I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to start speaking Russian. I'm going to be able to attend Reds games for cheap, and the government will always know where I am. So if I ever get lost, I could just call President Biden and say, hey, yeah, Debbie, he's lost half the time too. So we'll be able to help each other. This is a great thing. This is a great thing, folks. Everyone just needs to relax. Not everything has to be so combative all the time. Just learn to damn it, people. Anyways, hour 1 in the books. What?
Oh, nothing. You dare talk about combative.
That's true. That was pretty hypocritical of me. What the hell is that supposed to mean, Kev? All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers, the divorce and family law firm of the Miami Valley area, with 5 attorneys to meet your needs. And just by the way, folks, if you want to get those cheap tickets, for those of you who have had the tracking device inserted in you, you can check that out at reds.com or wingam.com. But it's only for those who have got the tracking device put in you. It's not for anybody else. We'll be back in a moment. Hour 2 coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven. It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you can pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Receive a $5 rebate by trading up a non-contact thermometer toward an Exergen temporal scanner purchased at any retailer. Fever is a leading symptom of COVID, and using an accurate thermometer has never been more critical. In published studies, no-touch thermometers miss more fevers than they detect. While the new COVID vaccines are becoming more widely available, it is important to make sure you are protected. Monitor for fever with an accurate thermometer backed by more than 80 published peer-reviewed clinical studies. Details at Exergen.com, where accuracy matters.
Hello?
Honey, where are you?
Well, I'm at Rural King getting some fencing because my studs are out wandering the pasture.
Oh, that reminds me. Your drawers are looking a little homely. Get you some new barn door underwear while you're there at the Real King.
Barn door underwear?
Yeah, it'll keep your stud from wandering the pasture.
Fellers, throw away them worn-out drawers and check out barn door underwear from Rural King. There's a style for every need at the lowest prices guaranteed.
Holy is for church, not for your underwear.
Staples has everything you need to be organized and productive, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organization supplies, all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start with big savings from Staples.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to win $1,000. It's the Swing for the Fences $1,000 a day giveaway. Each hour starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, we'll release a winning word that you can submit at wingam.com. It's easy, it's free, and you
Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
college football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
Look at that. Debbie could be so impressed with us. Right on time, top of the 4 o'clock hour, top of the hour to everybody out there. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers here on a Tuesday. It's a beautiful freaking spring day out, and here we are inside. So, but nonetheless, if we had to be inside, this is what I would like to be doing if I couldn't be outside golfing. So I tell you that golfing sounds so good right now.
Riding my bike. Actually, good news. The bike place called me today. They said my bike will be ready at noon tomorrow. So noon, you'll see my bike on the rack. I'm going to pick it up before I come into the station tomorrow. Can't wait. It's going to be like 80 tomorrow. I'm about to get out there. Get some miles in.
Good news. Nora called and said that the trash came today and that they took my bike. So I don't have to worry about biking. I'm not in shape enough to even try that, but good for you. Actually, that would be, for sightseeing and just being out, not being around people. Just put your headphones in or whatever you wear, and then off you go. So there you go. By the way, Scott Whetstone on Facebook says, thanks for entertaining me while I was finishing up mowing. I always wear foil on my head to keep the government satellites from tracking me outside. So shout out to Scott. And hey, when you're done mowing your yard, I have a yard that you can start mowing now. How about that? It's ready to go. And I'm afraid to mow it the first time, because then once you start it, then it's like you got to keep it going. And these are like the worst months because it just doesn't stop.
Dude,
it doesn't stop.
It's an old man that lives across the street, man. He was out there on Easter Sunday mowing his lawn. And I'm just like, I hear, and my wife was like, it's the old man, right? I was like, no way. There's no way he's cutting the grass on Easter Sunday.
Easter eggs being shattered.
It's your personal
what in the world? There, my laptop just started playing something anyways. But
open up the blinds and he's over there cutting his grass. I'm like making everybody in the neighborhood look bad.
There's always one in every block, I'm telling you. How about last night? 86-70, the final. The Baylor Bears win their first national championship, Kev. 28-2. 28-2 is their final record. And, well, the Gonzaga Bulldogs end up like the New England Patriots, where they undefeated all regular season and postseason until the championship game, and then they pick up their first loss of the year. But 86-70, this wasn't just a loss. This was a beatdown. Good for Baylor, because Baylor's just been a quiet team amongst the mix of everybody else, because, well, the Big Ten was the storyline of, look at all, you had Michigan, you had Louisville. Holy smokes, I'm losing my mind. You had Illinois, you had Michigan, you had the 2 seeds and obviously Ohio State, and you had Iowa, and there was just so many teams that everyone was focusing on. And then, of course, you had Gonzaga, who's undefeated. Everyone was following that storyline. Baylor's just been kind of over here quietly minding their own damn business.
Games.
And winning games, taking care of business. They had 2 big blowout wins to close out the season in the Final Four national championship game. It wasn't a good game. It was a good game, but it was just a blowout game. And it was on too late. I was asleep before it even, before halftime. I have no problem admitting that. I didn't even stay up to watch this. I knew, I was like, I'm going to fall asleep and wake up to some historic comeback by Gonzaga, who, by the way, it's only down 10 at the half.
Yeah.
But it did feel like it was a much bigger lead than that. When I went to bed, it was a few minutes before halftime. I'm like, I know that, it seems like they're within striking distance, a couple big threes and some stops, and they're right back in this. But there was just something where there's always some games where a 6-point lead feels like you are down double digits. Then there's games like only a 10-point deficit feels like you're down 30. That was one of those last night. It was just, you hate blowouts in a championship game to close out a season, especially for a tournament that has been as entertaining as this. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it took away from anything. It was still the 1 versus 2. It was the matchup you wanted in the championship game, and we got that. Good for Baylor.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. I tuned to the game just like everybody else, man. And from the word go, Baylor was on it. Not only on attack mode offensively, but attacking defensively. When they were running those back cuts and everything like that, normally Gonzaga, they're open for layups and 3-pointers. There weren't any shots to be had by Gonzaga early on. And then they started hitting threes, Baylor. And then Jalen Suggs, the All-American, the first-round pick, he got 2 early fouls before the first timeout. He had 2 fouls before the first media timeout.
He should have done some more of them heaves.
So he was on the bench on and off throughout the first half. They had a big 5-0 run to cut it to 10 before halftime. And I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, it's just 10 points. You can just cut it down. So let's see what happens. And, they got it down to 9. I'm like, all right, game on. And Baylor just blitzed them with a quick 8-0 run, like back-to-back threes and a layup. And it was all she wrote. I was like, man, I'm not about to stay up till midnight watching this. Like, I have no dog in the fight. Like, it'd be different if it was, Syracuse or Ohio State, like teams that I root for. But, like, I don't root for either of these teams. I was just looking for a good game. And it's exactly what you said, man. You hate for the last game of the season to be a blowout. We've seen this in college football with our Buckeyes getting blown out by Alabama. We saw this in the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay and Kansas City. And now we saw it in the men's final last night. It just sucks that, you go through a long season and then the thing that you look forward to the most is a blowout. And it's just a downer, man, because Saturday was such an awesome way to kick off the Final Four. And like, all right, we had our little blowout with Baylor and Houston, but we had an epic game with UCLA and Gonzaga, and we get a blowout on Monday night, and the game don't even tip till 9:30. So it was like, man, I'm gonna be up late.
Yeah, and with that, Like I said, you wanted to be more entertained by it, but overall, good for college basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Because college football got destroyed all season. Morals were questioned. Do they care about these athletes? All those questions were thrown out there, but ultimately everyone made it through. With all things considered, we crowned a college football national champion. We have a basketball national champion now, and hopefully one of the worst football seasons and basketball seasons, thanks to the pandemic, is now behind us. And I'm not saying that things are returning to normal. I really want to know, can we expect to see fans at games again moving forward? I think so, yes. Basketball especially. Are we done with the cardboard cutout, folks? I'm hoping, so it's like, one of these days I was planning on getting the cardboard cutouts of us and just doing the whole show of just the cardboards facing the camera, by the way. But nonetheless, the season's done. Congratulations. Honestly, the NCAA, they're always going to be the villain. I think they make so much dang money that they just somehow they make money on accident sometimes. They don't have to be perfect to make their money. They don't have to treat the women's game with respect to make money. They don't have to do the right thing to make money. And I think that's what was being thrown into question this year is, okay, are we doing what's right for safety protocols and for the players and for the coaches and everything, or are we doing what's right for business? And I think that business trumped a lot of that, which, by the way, like I said, players had the choice to play. Coaches had the choice to coach. Fans had the choice whether to go to games or not. Some conferences took that choice from you. But big picture, the NCAA just reminded everybody, just like our jobs and everything, business is always going to rule over, there's going to be some moral principles put into place, but overall business is always going to trump everything that goes on. And nonetheless, it was a bumpy ride for the NCAA, but they crowned their two biggest champions that they desperately needed to get crowned. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the only thing COVID took away from the NCAA was Final Four, or was the NCAA tournament last year. That's the only thing that they lost. Everything else they've been able to put in. So it was an interesting stretch, but I hope we never experience something like this again from a basketball season standpoint. I think every time I was getting down on, man, there's just no fans at games. Man, this game would have been exciting if there were fans in the stands. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, I kept having to remind myself, well, it's just this season. I don't know if I can mentally prepare for another season like this. So hopefully, we're returning to somewhat normal by the time we get to this fall. For
imagine how the student body feels.
Yeah, so to call. I worked for the Horizon League doing the Horizon League for Wright State doing the volleyball championships over the weekend, and I had to get tested for that multiple times. And I hate getting tested. The damn thing, it doesn't hurt, but it's annoying. It's just, you know what I mean? And those athletes had to do that every day. Every day, Kev. Now, I don't know about every day. Some conferences it changes from side to side, but I know the Big Ten, you're getting tested daily. You're getting the rapid response test. You know how annoying that is? How I bet they can't wait for all that to be done. And it's not done, by the way, because what was it, Bowling Green today? Bowling Green football, they just shut down their spring practice. So it is what it is because of COVID. I will say this, though. I thought ratings would shoot through the roof. And that's the thing, too. I got tired of hearing about the NBA, that when the NBA went woke, they're going to go broke because no one wants to tune into that. NBA ratings went down, as did NFL ratings also went down. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised at how much ratings went down for live entertainment across the board because I'm like, what else are you doing? I thought that ratings would go up because everyone that would normally be at the games watching them live are now at home watching the games on ESPN Plus or whatever outlet that they're on. The ratings for this Final Four were horrible. The championship game was horrible. The tournament was horrible. And I just don't get it. And I fall into the trap that I always get annoyed with people when I say, that was a great tournament. How are the ratings bad? 90% of ratings are done before the event starts.
Right.
I hate when people say, I don't get how the ratings were bad. That was a good game. Well, it was a good game for those who watched, but 90% of ratings come before before the event starts. What are you doing to promote it? What is getting people to watch it? Are you tipping off at the right times? Are you putting it in front of the right crowd? Are you promoting it properly? 90% of ratings comes before the event gets there. So I don't care. When people say, oh, and if you don't watch the women's tournament, you're missing, look at these great games. I don't get how ratings are bad. No one's saying that the games aren't good, but what are you doing to get people to watch the games at the same time? What are you doing to watch the games? That's where we're at with this. So these numbers, Kev, CBS averaged 11.8 million viewers for the Final Four doubleheader on Saturday. Mm-hmm. That was down 14% from 2019. Not obviously there was no tournament last year. Down 14% from last year. Down 10% from 2018. And I thought that with having the tournament off, I thought that the ratings for this would be through the roof, because not only can we not go watch it, but we didn't have it last year. So I thought that would be even more, create more urgency to go and watch it. The Gonzaga UCLA thriller, Kevin, averaged 14.9 million. That's bad. That is not good. That's down 6% from 2019. And that's crazy. That's not good. And it's not because the tournament wasn't good. It's not because there were social justice sayings on the sideline of the court. It wasn't because any of that. Like, sports across the board ratings went down, and that's what I just don't understand is I'll never be able to wrap my head around that, because you're not allowed to go to the games. So the only way to watch the games is on TV. This whole year has just totally changed people's viewing habits and just what they do with their time. And clearly sports has been put on the back burner a bit, which is disappointing. So hopefully that starts to kind of ease back up. This was a great tournament. What a fantastic tournament.
Yeah, it was a great tournament. I was locked into it a ton. I will say I would like to get another breakdown, because all these teams that were in the Final Four were west of the Mississippi, and not last year's, but 19's tournament or Final Four. You had Michigan State, Texas, Virginia, and Auburn. So you had a mix of, different time zones. And obviously in the championship game, you had Virginia and Texas Tech. So I would like to get a breakdown of those numbers to see like how many people were very interested like in the East Coast, because they don't necessarily have a team that they're going to be watching. But, like you said, man, ratings, schmatings, man, it is what it is, man. For people that love basketball and love college basketball, they tuned in. And ultimately, I do think March Madness ratings are affected nowadays because every game's on TV. I remember as a kid where you only got your regional games. Like, it only came on CBS. Like, I remember vividly, my grandmother would pick me up from school. We would go over to her house. She would want to watch the stories and
soap operas. For those who call them soap operas,
she will pop in the tape and it would be basketball on, and she would be irate, and because she forgot that her stories weren't coming on today. You would get a noon regional game, a 2:00 regional game, a 4:00 regional game. Then you get your news, and then you get right back into more regional coverage. Now that we have games on CBS, TBS, TNT, what other network is it on? It's on True TV. So you have all the games are on. So you can be a fan of whomever team. You could be a fan of North Dakota State, and you can watch them play in a tournament if you want to. So you're not forced to only watch one game. You have your pick of the litter, and obviously everything going on right now with streaming. And, the tournament, we didn't even know this. Like, hold on, the tournament doesn't tip off on Thursday, it tips off on Friday. It was a Friday, Saturday first round, Sunday, Monday second round. Like the whole tournament just was like a little off kilter, just like this entire season. So once things get back to our new normal, once we're able to go to Las Vegas and gamble on the games, people got the shots and their arms and everything like that, I think things are balanced back out the way they used to be.
Well, with that being said, I think what part of the reason that ratings were as bad as they were for this tournament too, North Carolina was there, but for one game. But, North Carolina, who was in it, wasn't your typical North Carolina powerhouse. And when I say they weren't in it, what I mean, they weren't in it like past the first weekend. Right. Everyone's going to watch the first weekend. Right. Everyone does. And I've always said that too. The tournament is amazing to me because, it's just like in any other tournament field where, the ratings theoretically should be getting bigger and bigger as you get to the grandest stage of them all, which is that championship game, right? Like ratings dwindle, like people, because more fan bases are checking out and that type of thing. But no Kentucky, no Duke, no North Carolina, not having those coaching matchups matter. I do believe people tune in for Rick Pitino versus Coach K and those types of things. None of that. Let's just call it how it is. Gonzaga, Baylor, the brands in college athletics carry. This is my last week when we talked about this. I said, Zion Williamson needed Duke more than what we paint the picture of him needing Duke. Like we act like, Zion is a star no matter what. Zion needed Duke. I mean, more than Duke needed him. Duke is an established brand. People are going to tune into Duke no matter what. Hell, Duke had the top 10 list of the highest rated games. Duke had 7 of them this year, and Duke was horrible on ESPN platforms across the world. Duke was horrible, but Duke is, what I mean? People tune in for that. People in the Final Four, you want to watch Duke go against a Kentucky. You want to watch Kansas go against a North Carolina. You want to watch those Power Fives. Not Power Fives. You want to watch those Blue Bloods. And I think that you need. I think the good balance, the best balance for an NCAA tournament is you need your Cinderella team, you need your Loyola, but you need them mixed in with the powerhouses of the Dukes, Carolinas, Kentuckys, and others. This year, it was just way too many non-traditional powers. That's not their fault. I'm not saying that they should stop competing or anything like that, but if you're asking me why I think ratings are down, I think that the brand matters. We don't know who these players are. These players are not stars because, for one, they're not around long enough, or they change teams too much, or they're just playing for schools that don't have a lot of eyes on them. You become a star in March, but there just wasn't enough of that to really develop anyone. So for me, I just think that the lack of the power schools really being involved really hurt the tournament this year. Baylor and UCLA really did help. UCLA helped the Final Four, but UCLA didn't have any huge name brand players either, future NBA superstars. Like, they have NBA talent here and there, but they don't have a superstar there. So that I definitely think hurt the tournament.
For sure. Let's be real, man. Most viewers only watch college basketball during March. Most people that are involved with sports, that watch sports, they're really casual viewers. There aren't too many diehards out there. Like, there aren't people that are just living and dying with every college basketball game or every game that goes on around college sports in general. We claim that, like, oh man, we got a lot of diehard college football fans around here. But let's be real. People are really in this town. They're watching every single Buckeye game. They're checking out what Alabama and Clemson got going on. They want to go hate watch Michigan. And that's about it. But there's very few people out there that's like, up on a Tuesday getting their Maction on, unless they know a kid that plays for somebody at that MAC school, or watching, Boise State play BYU on a Friday night. Like, there's very few people that do that. And the same thing happens in college basketball. Of course, everybody in this town is watching the UD Flyers and seeing how they're doing this season, and watching the Buckeyes, but they're not staying up until 10:30 tip off to watch Gonzaga take on St. Mary's.
That's what Steve, and shout out to Steve Stetler on Facebook. He just chimed in on the conversation too, saying, yeah, but starting the game at 10 definitely sucks. Scott on Facebook says it was refreshing to see the teams that are not one and done doing better in the tournament, but I think those one and done programs that you talk about, Scott, are your blue bloods, the brands that actually push the ratings a little bit.
I just think the last one and done team was probably that AD team. It's been tons of teams that have won the whole big dance that have been teams that are led by like veteran teams, like Virginia. Like, they had like 4.
But I'm not dropping everything to watch Virginia.
I'm just saying, like those teams aren't like the one and done guys. Like, I think we associate Kentucky as a one and done school, even though it hasn't been for a while. That method has not worked for Calipari. In fact, right now they are not a one and done school. They are a transfer portal school. They are taking star players from, or not, they're literally filling. They've been an A10 roster the last couple of years because they literally keep taking A10 players and filling the holes that they have with A10 players on their roster. But I think what he meant by the one and done teams, I think, are the teams that you normally associate that with. You look at Duke, the Blue Bloods, but those definitely need, the tournament needs a better balance of those. But I think there was too much Cinderella this year. I never thought but I always say Cinderella to me, look, when midnight strikes after the first weekend, that's when the Cinderella stories come to an end for me. I don't care about that. No, outside of like Dayton, Florida, years and years ago, outside of this city, no one wanted Dayton, Florida. They wanted Florida or in North Carolina. They wanted that. Like, that's how I view it is I want the Cinderella stories the first weekend, but after that, I don't want to see Oral Roberts in the Elite Eight in the Final Four. I just don't. Like, I'm not rushing to my TV set for that. Are those kids good and just as talented? Yes, absolutely. But that's why I tune in, for me, more so for the brand. Now, when I do sit down, I can watch any college basketball game, by the way, but I'm just saying, for me, like last night, Gonzaga Baylor, I could watch any college basketball game, but I'd probably, if that was Duke and Kentucky in the title game, I don't care if that tips at midnight. My ass is staying up with a pot of coffee and anything else I need to keep me awake to watch that game. I just wasn't doing that for Baylor and Gonzaga, and I have no problem admitting that. And I think that if the game was good, you would have stayed up.
No, I don't. I felt like I was falling asleep during the UCLA Gonzaga game the other night, and that was the best game I've ever seen. Like, I kept waking myself up.
Wow.
But all I'm saying is for Duke, North Carolina, or Duke and Kentucky or whatever, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, and so on, I am doing everything I can to stay up no matter how late it is. Gonzaga, Baylor, whatever. If I feel that way, that's why the tournament struggles, because I'm a diehard basketball fan, but the casual fans, they're definitely not entertaining that. They're like, oh, we'll check the box. I'm sure we'll hear about it all over sports radio in the morning, because that's what happens with it. But nonetheless, it was overall very good. Regardless of the ratings, I don't care. How would you grade that tournament? I'm giving it an A+ because of everything that they had to navigate through. You only had one team, thanks to the Dayton Flyers, that suffered from, I'm just joking, folks. I'm just joking. Calm down. Am I? But there was only one team.
Just couldn't help it.
What?
You just couldn't help it.
Oh, are you positive? No, but VCU was, but no, VCU was the only team. Like, I started getting nervous. I'm like, man, how many more VCUs are we going to see where they missed tournament games because of this? Like, that's what I was concerned about. There was only one team that was impacted by the virus, and that was, VCU. No other games were moved or missed or anything, right? Like, that was the only situation. Just one. Because of a certain hotel. That's all I know. I don't know where it was. It was in Dayton. I don't know who was responsible. Probably Dayton. No, I'm just joking. Actually, I don't even. That's on the A10. I'm just giving you a hard time. But keep in mind, I give it an A+ because of everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. All having, you have conference tournament championship games all around the country. Everyone having to get tested, get 7 negative tests before the games tipped off a week later. You had to sprint to get to Indianapolis. You had to be locked up in your hotel room. You literally had food dropped off at your doors, so I talked to a few people. You had like a contact person that would have to go down and get the food for your entire team and bring it up. And then, like, no one was allowed to go downstairs. If you DoorDashed, you had to DoorDash. They had to go. So the elevators would open. DoorDash would have to drop the food off, or there would be someone there with the hotel that would say, okay, who's this for? It's for blah, blah, blah. They would have to check the list. Okay, that's with this team. That's with VCU. Okay, so call the contact person for VCU. And, like, literally, so you were never, because if I ordered DoorDash, I had to stay in my room. I couldn't go down to get my own food. The contact person for our team would have to go down and get it and bring it to us. So those contact people were what was keeping everything going, because no one was allowed to leave their room or leave their damn hallway, pretty much. The contact people handled a lot of the outside stuff. Isn't that crazy?
Very. I bet they better have been tipping good.
Well, you tip on the app.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, they better. I mean, they get paid good money. What do they pay them with those textbooks, those meaningless textbooks that athletes don't value? Is that what we're saying, huh? Trying to push Kev's buttons.
It's not going to work.
We'll be back in a moment. Transfer portal sucks. How about that, Kev?
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 80. Tonight's going to be mainly clear, a low around 55. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy once again, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
We need the forklift over here.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Okay, those molds need to be adjusted. The shippers are coming at noon, so we got to get this done.
Like at Dennis's plastic startup, to stay flexible, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsommers.com. That's Sommers with an O, kirklandandsommers.com.
Save big money at Menards on your next project with 11% off everything. UltraDeck, low maintenance, rustic composite decking gives you the look of real wood without the upkeep. It's available in 4 colors and in 8, 12, 16, and 20-foot lengths. All UltraDeck is 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 10th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Here's football legend Howie Long for Skechers Arch Fit shoes.
Do you like comfort? Of course you do. Everyone does. But if you've never tried Arch Fit shoes from Skechers, you're missing out on next level comfort. Saying you like comfort but not trying Arch Fit is like saying you like Italian food but you've never tried pasta. You're missing out on the number one thing. Because with Arch Fit, Skechers created a whole new kind of comfort. They teamed up with podiatrists who used over 20 years of data to create a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. Arch Fit distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have. You don't need an arch problem to love how they feel. And you say you have a passion for comfort but haven't tried them? That's like saying you're a sports fan but have never watched football. It makes no sense. So if you're the kind of person who claims to like comfort, stop what you're doing and try a pair of Arch Fit exclusively from Skechers. Then you'll finally understand true comfort.
See all the styles of comfortable machine washable Arch Fit shoes now at Skechers.com.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamp decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
How clean is your nose? Most airborne germs and allergens invade through the nose, your body's air filter, its first line of defense. You wash your hands and brush your teeth, but what about your nose? Did you know there's an easy way to keep your nose clean and help your body protect itself? It's called Navage Nasal Care. Navage uses powered suction to clean your nose by flushing out pollen, mucus, bacteria, and viruses. Millions use Navage for fast, all-natural relief from sinus congestion and allergies, and to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage is easy to use, affordable, and it comes with an absolute guarantee of satisfaction. And 50,000 independent online reviews averaging 4.7 stars show just how much people love their Navage. You wash your hands and brush your teeth every day. Now you can clean your nose and help protect your health with Navage at Navage.com, CVS, Walgreens, Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, and Rite Aid. Navage, Navage. Make good nasal hygiene your new normal with Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Express Employment Professionals matches people with the right skills with the right jobs. To find your next job, visit expresspros.com and find the location near you.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I hope everyone's having a great day. We got Reds baseball coming up tonight. If you want to see the Reds lineup, head to wingam.com. We'll have that Reds lineup for you here later in the show before we close it out. But if you want to look at it ahead of time, I tell you what, David Bell's keeping that lineup the same. I don't expect a manager to never tweak a lineup. I don't expect a manager to never give a player an off day. But he has a habit, Kev, of, all right, let's see who's playing the best right now, and let's give him a rest. Like that's the David Bell motto, and that drives me up the wall. Like that's the stuff I can't stand that he does. But he's left this lineup alone. Now they're not a very deep team, so I don't know if I'm giving him too much credit. That he may not be going to the bench because he doesn't have a whole lot of people in the dugout to go to, Kev. But I'm just saying, overall, he's left the lineup the same. He's letting India hit in the same spot. Suarez has been hitting the ball well. But the Reds and Pirates game 2 tonight. The Reds and Pirates game 3 will be tomorrow at 12:35. So that'll bleed into our show. We'll probably be on with you between 4:30 and 5 tomorrow, so keep that in mind. But we'll be coming up immediately following the Reds game tomorrow. Might be able to sneak around to golf and during the Reds game. I'm going to see if I can pull that off, But nonetheless, by the time we come on the air tomorrow, the Reds, I think they take care of business tonight. Then you're back at the top of the rotation. I think Luis Castillo has a chance to kind of really make up for that horrible opening day start that he had against the Cardinals. And I think the Reds definitely need that. And if the Reds can get through this stretch right now, playing really good baseball with a banged up rotation, without Michael Lorenzen and without Sonny Gray. By the way, I'm still not sold on Michael Lorenzen being in the rotation. I love what I'm seeing from Tyler Malley. I love what I'm seeing in the bullpen from certain guys. But man, like Michael Lorenzen, if he comes in and blows it all up, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so angry because there was no need to move into the rotation. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Tyler Malley does pitching great, gets Sonny Gray back. Luis Castillo returns to form. With the way this Reds team is producing runs and putting the bat on the ball, yes, they're flawed defensively, but every team, even the best, the Dodgers, you can go find a weakness for them. There's weaknesses everywhere. There's no such thing as a perfect team. I could list 3 positive things and someone will come out, yeah, but defensively, my ass. I don't care. Every team's going to have flaws. That's obviously the Reds' flaw right now, but the Reds are pitching great, rotation, bullpen-wise. Their lineup is producing, run support, 32 runs in the first 4 games. That's all you can ask for the Reds right now. As I said earlier, if they're 1-3, you guys are burying them. They're 3-1, and you're still finding reasons not to be optimistic about this team. You can't have it both ways. You can't bury them if they're 1-3 and then ignore them when they're 3-1. But that's called being cautiously optimistic. Hell, Reds fans, I would appreciate a little Bengalism from you. I mean, they're 3-1. They're winning the World Series, right? Hell, when the Bengals won their 4 games, they thought that they were close to winning a Super Bowl. So, I guess that would make a little bit of sense. We'll get into that in a bit. Over 1,200 names in the transfer portal, and I know you're probably tired of hearing Kevin and I talk about that. So, last Friday, I had a chance to catch up with Dayton's own ESPN college basketball analyst, Mark Adams. Love Mark. Always love any time that he gives the show. But we got to talking about the transfer portal, and him being a former coach, Kev, is really why I wanted to kind of get his perspective on it. I thought he would be more anti-portal. He's more for the portal than I'd actually given coaches credit for. Mainly, and by the way, being for the portal, I don't think that that's bad either. I'm torn. I'm down the middle on it because I see both sides. But I think that the problem is that I have a hard time believing that 1,200 names have found that 1,200 names are just that unhappy with where they are at. I think there's too many situations where, I want more playing time, or coach yelled at me, or that type of stuff, which I'm not in support of. But there's so many other personal reasons. Mental health being at the top of those is why you have to respect decisions that are made when it comes to that. But ESPN's Mark Adams, here's our conversation that we had with him last Friday regarding the coach's perspective of how he views the transfer portal and ways that we could potentially fix it. Here's Mark Adams. The transfer portal could be very, very difficult to talk about because, as you know, with me, I'm very opinionated, and it rubs people the wrong way sometimes. And there's not many times where I am down the middle on something. I'm down the middle on this. I see both sides. I understand why players want the freedom to be able to come and go as they please, but I also understand that from a coaching standpoint, you being a former coach know this, you can't build a program with having to revamp a roster every year, and you can't have it both ways. There has to be some kind of happy medium. Where do you fall with the transfer portal and the takes that are coming with it? I mean, Dick Vitale, Fran Fraschilla, some of the biggest names in college basketball are coming out and getting ripped for their opinion on it. And then others like Jay Billis and others are coming out and saying, no, the players should be able to come and go as they please. There has to be a happy medium, right? What is that happy medium? There's 1,100 names in the transfer portal. I looked at it. There's 357 college basketball teams, Coach. And if you think about it, I mean, if every team is bringing in about 3 freshmen, that's 1,000 freshmen coming in on top of the 1,100 players in the transfer portal looking for a new opportunity. What's the happy medium here? What's the right solution?
Well, and those 1,100 players represent about 90 college basketball teams when there's 350 total. Think about that for a minute. I mean, about 25% are transferring right now. So I think I'll surprise you a little bit with my take on this, is that, I believe in the free market system, and I believe that players have the right to move. Now, I understand the old school thought of I hear some people say that these guys are disloyal, that they're leaving their team. To me, Caleb Mills at Houston leaving mid-season, I have a problem with that. at Houston, okay? But I don't have a problem with a guy who at the end of the year, he's completed his fulfillment to the team in that season to do his job, and then he wants to explore, is there a situation that's better for him? I don't have a problem with that. In fact, when you look at private business, one of the greatest challenges that we face in running private business today is retention of good people. That's the biggest thing. And so there are great companies who understand the value of retention, and they treat their employees in a certain way. And they are revered, across the landscape as being great companies because they retain the best talent. I think that the model in college basketball has revolved so much around coaches and the voluntary ability for a coach to leave and improve his or her lot in life, where I think now the pendulum's swinging back where the players have some power to do the same thing. And I don't have any problem with that. Look, do I wish that we didn't have 1,100 players transferring? Yes, I do. But I think that the NCAA and its member institutions need to look more inward versus outward. They need to start blaming themselves and looking in the mirror versus blaming everybody else, who now obviously this isn't just a trend. This is a movement. And when movements take place, it's usually because there's some type of discriminatory behavior, or there's some type of unfair behavior, or whatever it might be. And so I think it's time for member institutions in the NCAA to look at themselves in the mirror and improve the system for the players that helps retain the best talent, that is the right fit for that program. So I don't have a problem morally or in any other way with the young men and women who are transferring to different programs. And I don't think they're disloyal either, because they've completed their commitment for that season, and then they're looking at other options as to where their commitment might be for the next season.
No, I agree with you, and I've made the mistake in the past of putting stuff out that every player that transfers is selfish. That's definitely not the case. Like, I've never played I've never played at a high level of college athletics by any means, so it's not fair for me to say that. So I've recanted that since then, mainly because after talking with different college coaches and just former college athletes, the thing I'm getting is that a lot of former college athletes I've spoken to, and even some current coaches on and off record, have said that they wish the transfer portal, when putting out those numbers, would have some context behind them. How many because even if you're a grad transfer, you still have to go through the transfer portal. You're one of the 1,100, even though you have the right to do that freely. The other part is, and you being a former coach, I'll let you speak to this. At the end of every season, you have exit interviews. And how many players during your coaching period, Coach, did you at the end of the year say, I don't want you to leave, but I'm going to be honest with you, we have some talented pieces coming in, and I can't promise you X amount of minutes next year. I can't promise you your same role next year. How many times did that situation come up? Because coaches I've spoke to have said they've had 2 or 3 players that they could think of in the at least last couple of years where they had guys transfer out. That it was a mutually agreed upon thing that they just thought it was best for both sides. That's not actually depicted within this transfer portal numbers. And they said that's what they wish would change, is to try to show a little bit more context.
Yeah, exactly. And you asked me that question. I had that discussion every season with at least one guy and maybe 2 or 3 guys, just to let them know. I mean, I'm one of these guys that was brutally honest about things, and I expected them to be brutally honest with me as well. If I told you some of the discussions I had with my players, you'd say, holy cow, you let them say that? But I mean, I wanted it to be a two-way street. If I had an issue, I wanted them to also bring their issue to me so we could talk through it. Here's the other thing, Justin, that we talked about on an earlier interview, and you know this. I've done a bunch of research around our Focus app. Well, let me give you some of that research, because I think this will also help put some things in context and some of my feelings about retention of good talent. We did a survey of student athletes, and we asked them, how often does your head coach meet with you for 15 minutes one-on-one? Okay? And the answers were once a week, once a month, or never. Okay? 52% said never. Never met with their coach one-on-one for 15 minutes or more. Now think about that. We've done the same survey in professional situations, and we're finding pretty much the same number, by the way. So until coaches get back to, and part of our Focus app is to connect coaches and players to where they communicate more regularly. That might be once a week, that might be once every 2 weeks or once a month. And the most common excuse that we get, even from high school coaches, is, I don't have time to meet with my players. And my response is, do you ride a bus to your games? And they say yes. So could you meet with your player during the bus ride, one player going and one player coming back, and you'll cover your whole roster in a couple of weeks? They said, I never thought of that. I have veteran coaches that tell me, you know what, when I got in the profession, I was meeting with my players, and I got away from it. I just assumed that they knew that I cared about them. Well, that's part of our Focus app, that we actually have players that define their off-court hustle stats, if you will, that they go to class, that they ask questions in class, that they engage other class members by complimenting them on an answer they gave in class, by broadening the community across campus. And the coaches can do the same thing. They can tell their wife they love them. They can meet with their players once a month, that they hold themselves accountable. That way the coach becomes vulnerable, and the players understand that the coach is doing the same thing they are for a better lot in life, to improve their personal situation, to improve themselves as people, to improve their spirituality, all those kinds of things. And that's one of the things we've done in the Focus app for off the court or off the field, to help coaches and players connect. And the real reason behind it is so that players and coaches are more happy. They connect on a deeper level, and hopefully there's that retention that takes place in a 4-year career.
All right, ESPN's Mark Adams, awesome enough to hang out with us here today on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers. I'm going to send you out the door with this just to follow up this conversation. But I guess my concern is, and you'll be able to shed a little bit more light on this, when these players decide to go in the transfer portal, do they know what's on the other side? It doesn't mean that they know where they're going to end up. And I bring that up because I hear a lot of comparisons of, well, Justin, if you want to take a job in Cincinnati or Cleveland or Columbus or in a whole other state, you could just get up and go. But my rebuttal to that would be, yes, but I wouldn't just quit my job and then go look for a job in another market, right? Like, you would assume that if you're going to leave one job for the other, it's because, like when they say, well, coaches come and go. Coaches will leave a team, they'll leave their current team because they have another job waiting for them. These players are entering the portal without knowing what's on the other side. I think that's dangerous for young adults who we don't know who's in the corner of all of these athletes at all times. Are you concerned about the advice that's being given to some of these kids when they enter the portal, kind of not knowing what's next? I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, no question. I am concerned about the advice and the selfish advice that people give to these young men and young women, as far as, you're better than the coach thinks you are, and the coach is messing with your game and all that kind of stuff. I'm totally against that, and I don't understand how people can be so clouded in their view that they can't see the obvious, especially, but I'm a former coach. And so even with my own son, Justin, once upon a time, he wanted to play high school basketball. Mm-hmm. And we were going through a summer where he was trying out for the freshman team. And I finally sat him down and said, where do you think you stand? And he told me, he was very honest. He said, look, I think I'm probably the last guy on the team. And I said, I think you have to improve twice as much to be the last guy on the team. This is a dad having a discussion with his son about that. And I was just completely transparent with him. I put on my coach hat. And I wish more adults would understand that it's more important to be honest and direct, to give young people that type of direction and that brutal honesty, versus painting that rose-colored glasses type situation. And I agree with you completely. There are too many people involved, and players should be listening to their coaches, in my view. But you know what? There's other people involved, and it has created part of this situation with the transfer portal.
I could talk college basketball with you for hours, and we're out of time. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, ESPN's Mark Adams. I really appreciate you, and I always look forward to having you on, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Justin. You're the best, but I love what you do with local sports and supporting Wright State and Dayton and the high school programs and Ohio State and Cincinnati and Xavier, everybody. You just do an outstanding job, and I'm a big fan. So thanks for having me on.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Receive a $5 rebate by trading up any non-contact thermometer toward an Exergen temporal scanner purchased at any retailer. With COVID continuing to spread, nothing matters more than having an accurate thermometer that's backed by more than 80 published peer-reviewed clinical studies, like the Exergen temporal scanner. Even after getting the COVID vaccine, you should be monitoring for fever to make sure you are protected. Keep your family and yourself safe by trading up your non-contact thermometer for an accurate temporal scanner and a $5 rebate from Exergen, where accuracy matters. Details at Exergen.com.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting. We are excited to announce we are open and here to help with your tax preparation needs. We offer multiple options, both convenient and safe. You can drop off your tax return, upload it to our secure website, or call for an appointment. We have 5 locations in the Miami Valley and 1 in Columbus to serve you. No matter the situation, we're confident we can do the job right. Visit lairdstax.com or call 937-325-6571. Laird's Tax and Accounting, here for you to ensure continued confidence in your tax return.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app anytime, anywhere. Listen to more than 300 stations along with more than 3,000 podcasts from your home area or across the U.S., all free.
With the radio.com app.
Battery power made by Steel. From trimmers and mowers to chainsaws and blowers, Steel battery tools are exactly what you need to tackle your to-do list. Whether you need to maintain your yard or completely transform your landscape. Shop online for the Steel AK Homeowner Series starting at just $199.99. Pick up at over 10,000 local Steel dealers. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
30% of ID theft victims suffered multiple types of identity theft. Get LifeLock. Save up to 25% off your first year at LifeLock.com, promo code RISK.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Well, now that college basketball is over, the NBA owns the basketball world right now. And I tell you what, we love the NBA. We watch the NBA, but even I'm willing to admit that I think that we're getting to the point now where the season just feels so drawn out and so long that we're just kind of like, for me, I feel like the NBA season at this point is just we're sitting here waiting for LeBron and KD to get healthy enough to get back out on the floor, AD as well, which may not even be into the playoffs. This is that stalemate moment of the season where when the playoffs start, they got pushed back. So normally playoffs start at the midway point of April. So playoffs don't start until the second week of May now. So about a month. We got a good month from now. So the final month of the NBA season is not, to me, it's just not exciting because, unfortunately, what makes college basketball, the tournament, so fun is that, you have your favorites to win it. But more times than not, your favorites don't win it. I mean, to get the top 2 teams in the country to go head to head in the title game, that doesn't happen often. Right. So that was a huge plus for college basketball. Even though I know the ratings were down, the ratings weren't down because that happened. I mean, the ratings are down for so many reasons. But ultimately, when you put a tournament field together, you want the top 2 teams meeting in the championship game, and that's ultimately what happened here. But with more times than not, though, what makes college basketball so exciting come tournament time is the fact that there is the Cinderella stories, there's the upsets, there's the surprises, and to me, I don't think that the best team always wins it. That's the one thing about college basketball is, I'll never say that the winner of March Madness is the best team in college basketball. I do believe this year that's the case. Baylor, it was and is the best team in college basketball this year. That doesn't happen often. I know Gonzaga technically was the number 1 team in the regular season, but it doesn't happen happen often where I think that the number one team, like I do believe if you started this tournament over, Baylor gets there again. Like I think Baylor's that good. I think Gonzaga's that good too, but Gonzaga, I'm not going to overreact to a loss, but I've never been 1,000,000% sold on Gonzaga as being this powerhouse that's unstoppable, but they were undefeated. They were rolling. They won the games they're supposed to, more power to you. But the NBA, barring injuries, we already know who's going to be in the finals. Kev, if there's no injuries, it's Lakers-Nets. And I think that as much as I love the NBA, I'll watch the NBA for entertainment purposes of matchups and star players and everything else. But there's no urgency to watch the NBA. There's not now. I don't think there was any to start the season outside of maybe getting to see Kevin Durant finally get out on the floor. And then, of course, his weird little twisting of the ankle has turned into a regular season ending injury. We understand what's going on, but, it is kind of strange. Magic Johnson and some others have thrown out that, that there's a problem in the NBA now where we're resting players for the playoffs starting in December. And I'm like, he's right. And I think that's what's going on here. It's smart business, but it's hurting business as well. So my point is, as much as we enjoy the NBA, I am willing to admit there is so much meaning, just like I think baseball, there's so much meaningless baseball that's played throughout the year. I think there's just as much meaningless basketball that's played. And I think it's the players' fault. I'll admit, in the 90s and early 2000s, I've never felt that the 80-game season was too long, ever. And now I do, and I blame the players. I blame the players who don't respect the regular season. I blame the players who, and I don't want to hear about, the science says that load management's a thing. Well, the numbers show that superstars of how many decades ago they never practiced load management, and they did just fine. So I don't want to hear about load management. Sometimes it makes sense. Kevin Durant's injury is the little one that you have to be very careful for. He could retire now. He's a Hall of Famer. He's won multiple titles. He's content with his career. But he also knows that he's not going to have his career end in the final month of the regular season too. But I still don't like the fact that he's not on the floor. So my point is the players, it's hard for the fans to respect what they're watching when I don't believe the players respect the time in which they're playing in. When you are working, the fact that players are working so hard with their agents to work in off games, that they're working that in. The fact that players are, sitting out longer. Like I like AD, but I get that the Lakers want to hold him out as long as possible, but he went from being out for 2 weeks to being out for 4 months. And it's like, I don't know if he really is out for 4 months or if it's just like the KD thing of, well, look, we already know we're a playoff team with or without him, so let's just get in the playoffs and we're a championship team with them, and that's more important. So the NBA is interesting to me because it's not interesting to me. I like the NBA, but point to sum up to before I hand it off to you, the NBA has a problem. And I don't want to hear about load management because load management wasn't the thing back in the day. Yes, if you were hurt, you took a day off. You sat out games if you're Scottie Pippen did it with the Bulls, with the contract dispute. And although, fans didn't like it, but that didn't happen too often. You are literally having guys just rest to rest, or maybe they're embellishing the injury just so they don't have to play games. How are fans supposed to respect the NBA and the games when the players don't? That's my biggest concern. The NBA is in the spotlight now. College basketball is done. High school basketball is done. But sometimes this stretch right here, it exposes how bad the NBA actually is at times because, watch, this is the final month before the playoffs start. This should be the most exciting time. It always is in football. You head to that final month of the season, man, you could just tell the urgency, the intensity level picks up. The final, February in college basketball, my God, you're seeing the best basketball out there because everyone's gearing up. We got to be playing our best basketball heading into the conference tournament or our best basketball heading into the big dance. In college football, we got to be playing our best football in October and November because we got to gear up for this final stretch here. And the NBA, the final month is players resting all over the place because they don't respect the seeding system. Being the 1 seed, who cares? The Lakers,
especially now.
Yeah, and then you got the play-in. And then that's why they've added the play-in to try to really kind of get excitement built back into the game. But even then, to me, that's not making me more interested. I'm not excited to tune in for the 5 teams who all are under 500 battle it out for the last couple playoff spots. That doesn't intrigue me. I'm going to watch because I love the NBA, me personally, but I know that I'm not watching it because I'm being urged to watch it or because I'm excited to watch it. I just like basketball. But I can't tell you the last time where I felt I had to sprint to I can actually, 2016. The last series, the last playoff game I watched that I felt like, oh man, I have no clue who's going to win this. It was that Cavs and Golden State Warriors, the second time that the Cavs actually won it. We had no idea who was going to win that. The Cavs are down 3-1. That's the last time where I felt like I had to block out everything I had that night to make sure I watched that. But since then, we know who's going to win it every year. and it's fun, but it's not at the same time. But this month is supposed to be the most exciting leading into the playoffs, and it's not.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I will put a lot of that onus on, sports in general, the fans and the talking heads that only put ownership on winning championships. They say guys aren't good enough because they don't win X amount of championships. And then vice versa, the players put themselves in a position like, well, shoot, if everything that I'm doing in the regular season doesn't even matter, why am I busting my tail during the regular season? Because there's tons of guys that play, all 82. Giannis was a guy that played all 82. Dame, even as much as James Harden, his exit from Houston, he was a guy that hooped every single night. He was out there with injuries or not. So there are a ton of guys out there that still push through the entire regular season. But I think it's a situation where it's the regular season is being devalued by everybody. I don't think it's just simply devalued by the players. I think it's devalued by sports media. I think it's devalued by fans because fans literally watch games, watch highlights. They watch the 10-minute clip on YouTube and determine if a guy is good or not. These are highlights and lowlights. They're not watching the entire game to see how a possession flows. As when you watch a highlight, it clips in the middle of it like it's a fast break. Well, how did he get a fast break? Who turned the ball over? We don't know who turned the ball over. Somebody turned the ball over. And, they got a layup on the other side. Oh, it's a dunk on the other side. So I think just the way how things are operated now in general with sports, everything in life is clipped down into 5 to 10 minute segments. And people aren't tuned into the entire game. And people aren't caring about the regular season. They really only tune in for the playoffs and dang show for the finals. So I think it's a combination of all those things. I do believe load management or resting players really started with the Spurs and Popovich. And, it was the Tim Duncan. Well, he's old. That's why he's not playing.
They were resting stars no one was watching anyway, so we didn't notice it. If you rest KD, it's like, well, hold up, time out, wait a minute.
Right. And as much as I love Timmy Duncan, I think he's one of the best players ever to play basketball. He's not like one of those guys that people are like, oh man, one of those new Tim Duncan shoes come out. Let me get a Tim Duncan jersey. Oh, Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. Yeah, he's exactly how your coach wants you to play, but nobody wants to play like Tim Duncan. But everybody wants to play like a Allen Iverson. Everybody wants to play like a Kyrie. Everybody wants to play like KD. So when you have guys like that, not playing all 82, that's when the red bells goes off into the fan base. So I think it's not just only on players. I think it has a lot to do with us as fans, and it dang sure has a lot to do with management from the teams, because especially when you're looking at the Lakers, the Lakers, they're a family-run business. Like, they're literally a mom and pop shop. Dr. Jerry Buss owned the team. Now it's being ran by his daughter and everything like that. For a fact that she's trying to keep AD and bubble wrap into the playoffs because, they don't have like all the other businesses that a Mark Cuban has, as billions coming in from here, billions coming over from there. Their money is the Lakers. That's their whole business. And without their two key pieces in the LeBron James and AD, they ain't going nowhere. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think it's more complex than the players don't care about the regular season. That's why nobody cares. I think it's everybody it's just trying to get through the regular season to get to the playoffs.
Well, and the other thing, too, is for one, the ideal season length for me, 50 games. Season starts in January. It'll never happen, so it doesn't matter. I'm wasting everyone's time with this idea anyways. But 80 games is way too many. The fact that, literally, in these sports shows, they do the whole oh man, AD's out. Are the Lakers' title chances flushed down the toilet? No, because he's going to be back 5 months from now when the playoffs start, and he'll be fine. It's one of those where when no one, when your star player goes down and no one panics, or when your star player goes down and you don't even try to get him back on the floor, you're let's just rest him until the playoffs. That to me, you say all the time, injuries are part of the game. Well, that's a part of the game. So I don't respect the Nets if they sat out Kevin. If Kevin Durant all of a sudden in game one of the playoffs, which by the way, they are good enough to win probably the first series without him. So don't be surprised if they milk it and also don't allow him to play in the first series of the playoffs. But it's one of those where it's going to be hard to respect the title if Kevin Durant doesn't play a regular season when he was capable of it at certain stretches, and then just decides, okay, I'm going to play in only the games that matter. So I love the playoffs. Everyone loves the playoffs. Duh. But it's one of those where you also, what made the playoffs special is because of the grind that it took to get there. And then what you do in the playoffs on top of everything you went through in the regular season. Well, now you just have guys milking it and choosing not to.
Right.
Like that's the problem that I have. But if you did 50 games, 16 games a month, you started in January, you can still start the playoffs in middle of May, like what we're going to have this season. You get about 16 games a month, then injuries all of a sudden cost you a playoff instead of costing you a seed or two. that to me.
Is that enough games though for like guys to be in rhythm? We talked about this before with COVID and the pauses and everything like that.
Apparently you could sit out for 3 months and just step foot on the floor and be ready to win a playoff series. But I know what you're saying, but I do. These are they're professional basketball players. Why wouldn't they? I guess player move. I did see a stat the other day that on average, 6.5 players per roster move. Like the turnover on rosters is so drastic right now.
Yeah.
But all teams care about is as long as we have our core three, we don't care. That's why the big three, it's not even shocking anymore. Like, in fact, if you don't have a big three and much less a big two, I'm not even tuning into you because you don't have a shot. The Rockets were always interesting because you had Chris Paul and you had James Harden. Those two right there were interesting. They tried to add Dwight Howard into the mix to make it interesting, but Dwight Howard was a little past his prime, whatever. But no, the NBA, I'm a big NBA fan. I'm going to keep watching. But Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie, who, again, we all have personal matters to take care of. But, it's becoming a little too much every time you turn. LeBron or Kyrie's out. Reasons unknown. Personal reasons. For one. And then it puts you in a spot where, man, he doesn't care about basketball. And then finds out a family member passed away. Then you feel like a jerk. But it's like, you mean to tell me no other player has family issues that, it's strange to me. I just don't like the Nets because they have characters that I do not like. James Harden. I'm not going to give an MVP to a dude that got fat and didn't care about the season until he got his way. I don't care how good you're playing with the Nets. I'm sorry. I don't want you to win an MVP because of that. Kyrie, you're too flighty for me. Hell of a player, but you're too flighty for me when he was in the MVP cover. Kevin Durant, you're going to come and like Superman to save the day come playoff time. You've had your cape tucked away the whole time, but you've been wearing it the whole time. You're not.
So who's the MVP?
Not on the Nets. It's LeBron James. That's who it should be.
But he ain't played in 3 weeks.
But he's working to come back, and he's going to come back. LeBron ain't no P word. He's going to come back. He's going to play.
Well, my top 3 MVP.
No. We'll talk about it on the other side. Because everyone knows Kevin and Kenner always know how to have a civilized NBA conversation. So find out what Kev's going to say that Kenner's going to yell at when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Out with 3 next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's been a lot of talk about the chicken sandwich wars lately, but only Lee's Chicken Sandwich is made famous. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, homestyle happens here with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. You'll get a fresh, never frozen chicken breast in your choice of famous recipe or spicy, topped with chipotle ranch and pickles on a brioche bun, all served with a regular side and drink. Get a taste of fame with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
To make sure that the air in your home is absolutely perfect, call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning. They are offering up to $1,800 in rebates or make no payments for 6 months when you finance a new Lennox system for as little as $132 a month. Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 today. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Ohio license number 14911.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Printing you new signs for the times.
Get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Staples has hundreds of designs to choose from, or just upload your own.
And now at Staples, get 15% off signs, posters, or decals when you spend $75 or more.
Some items printed same day when ordered before 2 p.m.
Save big on custom printing at Staples.
Ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit one offer per customer. See store associate or visit staples.com/signage for details.
Folks, you won't find old Roy at Homestead Feed and Supply. We carry raw-coated Canidae, a new product. Less in, less out. Best breed, an Ohio company. Blue Buffalo and other premium dog foods. Because you love your dog, Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Need a U.S. passport? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Visit one of our convenient auto title locations in Huber Heights, Clayton, downtown, Moraine, and Centerville. Make us your first destination before you travel abroad. No appointments ever needed. We do passports.com for more info.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Express Employment Professionals matches people with the right skills with the right jobs. To find your next job, visit expresspros.com and find the location near you.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. WYNG 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
All right, hour three, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. This comes to us on Twitter, Kev. Sean Davenport says if the NFL and the NCAA, if the NFL and college football don't stop adding games, the same thing is going to happen to football. Of course, when I was talking about the fact that, that the NBA, I think the season's just too long. We talk all the time about the Major League Baseball season being way too long, and it is. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. I mean, outside of money, and money's why NBA will never shrink games. That's why I always laugh. NBA players want to play less games. Well, the NBA responds, well, we'll play 4 less games. Like that. That's not playing less games. It's just not. I mean, it's 4 extra off days that are, but it's not. That's not less games, Kev. You know what I mean? Like, that's not doing anything. But what Sean's referring to is our conversation about the NBA of right now. It's the month before the playoffs start, and there's just no urgency to watch. I mean, me and Kev will watch because we love the NBA. But I know for just a casual fan or just in general, as much as I love the NBA, I'm going to watch it if it's on, but there's not a game coming up, Kev, that I'm like, I have to watch that. College football, how many games do we circle every week that, like, we have to watch that game? Hell, week 1, we have to watch that game. Like, there's going to be a lot of it. The NBA doesn't have that. And there's no urgency heading into the playoffs. Everyone's on cruise control heading in. It's like, we're the 3 seed now. If we take our foot off the gas the last 3 weeks and lose 5-6 games, we'll probably be a 5 seed. So be it. We still like our chances of once we flip the switch in the playoffs, we're good enough to win. So it's like when you see teams do that, they have every right to do it, and it's probably good business to do it because all that matters is in the playoffs winning championships. So if you have teams taking games off and taking months off, well, of course, how can you expect the fans not to do the same thing? So Sean's saying if the NFL and college football keep adding games, it's going to be the same thing. College football is over time is getting longer and longer. The NFL is now going to be week 17 now, 17 regular season games. They actually haven't added a game since the 80s, though. The NFL has been very consistent with their 16-game schedule. I actually think the NFL season is about the perfect length. I think they're about to go overboard with it, though. I don't think we need a week 17, and anything longer than that's going to be overkill at that point. But yeah, I definitely see. And look, I've said in college football, the only reason those amount of games are appropriate right now, the 4-team playoff, because every game matters. If it goes to an 8-team playoff, you're going to see a lot more games like what we're witnessing with the NBA right now. Some games might be big, but they just don't matter. If you have a good, Alabama against top 10 Georgia in the regular season, well, it doesn't matter. An 8-team playoff, both are going to make it. But the reason top 10 Georgia, top 10 Alabama, if they play in the regular season, Kev, that's for the playoff spot. Like you know what I mean? So sometimes more is not better. More dilutes the product. And I think the NBA's product's diluted, but it doesn't matter. It'll never change. Baseball is definitely diluted. Football is probably about as perfect as it can be on both sides. But college football, the amount of games they play is too much if you go to an 8-team playoff. I think with a 4-team playoff, it's just enough to where every team playing that many games, there's a team that we're talking about in the playoffs coming in at the very end that we're not talking about because the whole season panned out. That's not the case in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely with the NFL, man. The back half of the season gets so watered down in the NFL. I think going into week 16, 17, you get so confused. But going into week 17 last season, it was only like a couple good scenarios that were very entertaining games. It just seems just like a waste of time. And I know they're cutting out a preseason game, but you know what? You cutting out that 4th preseason game is not doing anything, especially for like the guys that actually play, like the starters. You're really adding the game, because they keep trying to sell you like, oh man, we're reducing the preseason, so it's the same amount of games. No, the starters don't play in that extra preseason game. So they're having an additional game in the NFL. And I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste of time, man. When you have a smaller postseason and make it harder for teams again, you get the best of the best into the playoffs. As much as I love the association, man, I can't remember the last time an ace would see won a playoff round. I guess it was the We Believe Warriors over
when they beat
Mavericks.
Dallas.
Yeah, that
8 versus 1. And for one, that doesn't happen at all. It was Baron Davis's Warriors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And then before that, it was like the Nuggets over the Sonics. And that was like in 95.
So you got once a decade. And it skipped the 2000s. So it went 90s and 2010s. Actually, no, it was 90s, 2000s. The 90s, 2000s, the 2010s did not have an 8 versus 1. It did not have an 8 versus 1 upset. It usually, draws out pretty well. I mean, it's chalk more times than not. The only time it doesn't have injuries. Injuries are what keeps NBA Finals favorites from happening, which, sometimes there's good and bad. Everyone that says dynasties are bad for basketball, that's not the case. I think that it gives you a team to you want a reason to watch a team. Doesn't always have to be a positive reason you want to watch them. The Miami Heat, everyone's like, that's a horrible thing that happened with Bosh, Wade, and LeBron because now everyone knows who's going to win. So there's no point in watching, except everyone tuned in to watch every night because you're seeing something you don't normally see. And on top of it, you're rooting to watch them fail. You want them to fail. When they failed, so many people, I hate the NBA, but there were so many passionate NBA opinions tonight.
A lot of Mavericks fans turned up that first year, right? Because you wanted them to fail. Every year that the Heat are in the finals, Spurs fans, everyone says how boring the Spurs are, but everyone was diehard Spurs fan. I mean, man, the state of Texas was not kind to LeBron's run in Miami, was it? But nonetheless. But yeah, well, with that being said, like I said, I'm a big NBA fan. I tune in and watch, but I can't admit there's not a matchup in the NBA that I circle and say I have to go watch this at this point of the season. I'm just, and to be honest, sometimes the first round of the playoffs is kind of just as well. It's when you start getting to those quarterfinals and the semifinals that it really picks up as far as that goes. But, we got into the debate about the MVP, and you can go ahead and hit the music. We got a little flair to this. So we were talking about, the one reason, in my opinion, that fans don't respect the NBA is because whether it's true or not, the perception is that the players don't respect the league that they play in. Kevin Durant tweaked an ankle months and months ago, and they said, he'd be out for a little bit. And I know they're being cautious because of the Achilles, which I can respect. But there are rumblings out there that injury is not as bad as what it was, but they're like, we're sitting in first place. There's no need to throw Kevin Durant out there, so we're just going to sit him to the playoffs. You have Kawhi Leonard, who worked tirelessly to get off days put into his contract, and that's common, but because he was one of the newer superstars that was taking over the league, that got a lot of negative approach too. Anthony Davis, the Lakers. I like the Lakers. I'm pulling for him to win the championship, but I don't like what I'm hearing that Anthony Davis is probably good enough to play right now, but there's no need to throw him out there, that the Lakers are just hoping to, just make the playoffs and the rest will take care of itself. So I get that. So the MVP.
A lot of people, I keep hearing the discussion about James Harden's the MVP because look what he's doing with the Nets. Sometimes it's not I'm not doubting that, but when I think of an MVP, it's a distinct honor. It's, man, you were just so special that year. I can't respect a player that showed up to start the season fat and out of shape because he was so angry and pouting because he didn't get his way. He was forcing his way out of Houston. But regardless of if he had the right reasons to do it or not, regardless of how well he's playing right now, regardless of the fact that the Nets are in first place in the East, even without Kyrie, who's always chasing a balloon somewhere. And then you also have Kevin Durant, who's been out the whole time. It's like he's doing something great. But the season started with him out of shape, not wanting to play, not prepared to play. And to me, I still can't get that out of my mind. If this happens next year and he's good for the beginning, no arguments for me. But I can't put him in that MVP conversation. My top 3 MVP candidates right now, Kev, are LeBron James, number 1, of course. I know he's out with an injury, and that could change. If he misses the rest of the regular season, like what we're seeing, I have to take him out of that. But LeBron James for me. Joel Embiid, number 2. Joel Embiid has just had one of those seasons where I never looked at him as an MVP candidate. I laughed at the fact that, he would ever be, mainly because not that I didn't think he was good enough, but he never respected the game either. Like, I know the game matters to him. He was crying walking off the floor. I love that, by the way. I get tired of, I think that they're too buddy in the NBA, that the game, the competitive drive is just not there within these guys. They care more about the selfie opportunities before and after the game. They're in the middle of a game, they'll high five each other and smile and laugh. And I'm like, you should be wanting to rip that guy's face off. You would never see MJ high five anybody during the 90s that wasn't wearing a Bulls uniform. Hell, half the time he's punching his own damn teammates. That's how much of a competitive drive he had. So I hate that. But Joel Embiid in tears walking off the floor 2 years ago when they got upset in the playoffs. And to me, that shows he cared, that meant so much to him that it just destroyed him emotionally. So I know he cares, but man, he's having his best season ever. He's a big guy doing Shaquille O'Neal things in a game that doesn't respect the big guy anymore. And I'm watching him the other night, and I'm like, for the first time in a while, I'm watching a big that looked like, wow, no one could stop him. Mm-hmm. He just looks different out on the floor. There's no one that can stop him. There's no one that can match up with him. The game has changed. He's not Shaquille O'Neal.
What happens when you're 7 feet and you play inside the paint, ain't it?
And instead of being fat, it's muscle and it's bulk, and you're just muscling your way through. So I have him at number 2. And this goes back to my theory, who I have at number 3. There is no reason this dude should not be on the MVP board for anybody right now. And it goes back to my theory of the MVP is a joke in the NBA anyways, because it's a popularity contest, or it's an award for the best storyline in the NBA. How many times have we given the MVP to players who are emerging as stars in the league and they're a feel-good story? Like Luka was predicted to win the MVP this year. Why? He's an emerging star, and they thought that this year was going to be the year he takes off even more and boom, MVP, even though everyone else is clearly having better seasons. He's not about Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not doing anything different this year. In fact, his numbers are better than the years he won MVP. He's averaging 1 point less. Outside of that, his assists are up, his rebounds are up. His team is sitting at 32 wins. Oh, but they're not in first. They would have been in first in any of those seasons that he was MVP in to begin with. Milwaukee's playing great basketball. He's playing great basketball, but he's not being taught to. We're bored with them. We did this with Steve Nash. We do it all the time. We give these guys the MVP because they're the new fun toy that we love to play with, and then we get bored and we move on to the next thing. Eventually, Zion. It's not if he wins an MVP. It's when are we going to give it to him? When are we going to give Luka the MVP? Not if he'll win it. It's when are we going to give it to him? Giannis should be number 3, or at least in everybody's list for that very reason. And yes, I left one of your guys out, and I already know who's going to be in yours, I think. But Kev, your top 3 as far as MVP voting is concerned.
Number 3 for me is James Harden. Yes, James Harden wore a fat suit or was fat during his 2 weeks in Houston. But since he's been with the Nets, he's basically been playing the same level of basketball as he did when he was with the Rockets, putting up those same numbers with, like you said, KD out of the lineup, with Kyrie in and out the lineup. James Harden still is putting up crazy numbers and playing at an efficient level. And when those guys do play, he takes a back seat and allows those dudes and feeds those dudes the ball. He facilitates them the ball, falls back into that traditional point guard role. And he's just playing outstanding basketball right now. So I'll give him props, even though I'm with you. I don't necessarily like the way he forced his way out of Houston, even though he was trying to do it, like the whole fat suit thing at parties without a mask on. Like that was like even a bit much for my taste.
To me, like an MVP is like a leadership award too, and I just don't look at that. I mean, it's one thing to force your way out, but there was just a lot of things he's done throughout the year that I don't look at as quality leadership.
And it's amazing, like now, like he's the best leader on the planet. So it's like, it was an act, because before, when he first got to Houston, he was a heck of a leader. Even, throughout the times that they were losing in the first round with Houston, he was like, man, I trust my teammates and all that type of stuff. I get it, man. He got fed up with everything and everything like that. But the alleged fat suit, him going to parties without masks, is just like that. Like I just said, man, even that was a bit much for me. And I give these guys a lot of leeway. So James Harden's at number 3. Number 2 for me, the Joker. I'm not like real big stats guy, and look at these numbers that he's putting up, but he's putting up numbers that rival Wilt Chamberlain. Like he's leading his team in assists with 9 a game at the center position. Like that's like unheard of. Like those are crazy type of numbers. And what a team with a Jamal Murray leading them in scoring, leading them in rebounding. Joker's out here balling for the Denver Nuggets. And number 1 for me is Dame Lillard. As simple as this, Dame has the most game-winning shots this season at 5. Also, he was out here playing without 4 starters at one point this season. CJ McCollum just got back. Nurkic just got back. He was out here playing without starters. He was the only starter on the court for a majority of the season. Right now, they're like at neck and neck with the Lakers for the 5th spot in the West. Without Dame Lillard, they're not even sniffing the playoffs right now. And I do value winning. And without him, they wouldn't be doing any winning.
Yeah, Dame Lillard, he'll be in the playoffs and out like always. So Dame Lillard, good player, but there's a lot of good players just like him. We've had the same conversation. I don't dislike Dame Lillard, but I mean, there's just a lot of Dame Lillards in the league. Now, his clutch shot making ability is through the roof. And he is a prime example of a guy who can hit clutch shots, not sending half-court heaves and calling it clutch. Like, actually, if he's on the reputation that if he throws a three-quarter shot and makes it, that's clutch, because it is Dame Lillard. And we know there's something about that time of the game that he just takes over. We saw in Kobe. I know people say LeBron doesn't have that. LeBron has more game-winning shots than Kobe and MJ, which always, fascinates me when people say he's not clutch. But, he's right up there with those guys. Is when the game's on the line, he's who you want the ball. He's a prime example of put him in a different market.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, but I think he wants it so bad to be the why Portland wins the championship. But the problem is I just don't see that happening. Like, yeah, like it's going to take the Lakers just.
It's going to take a ton, because let's be real, man. Like the NBA has become, and this is why people don't like the NBA. Like, and I'll fight them on it, but like they have a valid point with this. The players really only want to play in certain places. They want to play in the hot market or the big time market or whatever. And I'll say this until the end of time, that when LeBron James first left the Cleveland Cavaliers, he did not want to leave. He tried to recruit Bosh. Bosh said, I ain't coming to Cleveland. Why would I come to Cleveland? I can stay in Toronto, a.k.a. the New York of Canada. Why would I come to Cleveland? When Amari Stoudemire was a free agent, why would I come to Cleveland? I'm going to go to New York. He couldn't get anybody to come to Cleveland. That is a fact. He tried.
Cavs weren't willing to pay Amari what the Knicks were either, but I do see it.
Now with that knee. The
typical Knicks were right there like, hey,
take it off.
Roll your ass on in here. We'll pay you.
Yeah, we don't need insurance. No. And they're probably still paying Amari. So when LeBron ultimately left the Cleveland Cavaliers, yeah, he wanted to win championships, but he tried. He tried to do it in Cleveland. And it's remarkable when he went to Miami. Oh, man, free agents started showing up to Miami. Remarkable. Free agents just show up with LeBron in Los Angeles. Yes, they want to play with him, but they didn't want to play in Cleveland. And I know that's my hometown. I love my hometown to death. But people don't want to play there.
There's something to that, but there's also something, if you take a look at the Lakers were bad for a long time. It's not, the destination plays a role in it. And I think if you have a choice, you're going to choose a nicer location. But like the Lakers couldn't, until LeBron went to LA, no one was going to LA. No one was going to the Lakers. So my point is with that is, I know what you're saying, that I think LeBron, if LeBron's in Cleveland, free agents are going to Cleveland now with this LeBron. Like, the point, LeBron was at the stage of which Zion and a lot of these guys. But, like, I don't think a lot of that had to do with just because it was in Cleveland. I think you also had Dwayne Wade, who was more proven than LeBron at the point because he's already won an NBA championship. And plus, if you could choose between Miami and Cleveland, you're going to do that. But if Miami's bad, a free agent is not just going to pick Miami over Cleveland just because it's Miami, but you're going to pick Miami over Cleveland because, well, there's Dwayne Wade and there's Pat Riley. I mean, Miami's not just Miami. Miami is Dwayne Wade. It's Pat Riley. It's those opportunities. Cleveland's Dan Gilbert.
I mean, I know people will rate Dan Gilbert, and obviously that letter was trash. But let's not forget, man, he is the only sports owner in Cleveland to bring a championship.
LeBron's the only owner to bring a championship.
Yeah,
look at how bad that Cavs team is without LeBron, man.
Yes, LeBron is the driving force, but the checkbook was wide open. He did the trades to get Kevin Love there. He gave up everything. He had to swallow his pride. I give Dan Gilbert a little bit of props, not a ton of props. Most of the props obviously goes to LeBron. He's the one on the court making everything happen, but I give Dan Gilbert some credit for that as well. I mean, I really just believe that it's people and players just don't want to play in Cleveland. Like, LeBron was there 11 years. They tried to get free agent after free agent. People turned him down. Even after he was a champion in Miami, came back, free agent still was like, no, I'm straight.
But what free agents did they miss out on in Cleveland? You already had LeBron, who made all the money he did. Kyrie got his big extension.
LeBron took less.
Yeah, but he took less, but that was so that they get Kevin Love.
This is the first time LeBron has said, no, I'm going to need all my money. And that's what the Lakers. He gave the Heat discount year after year. He gave the Cleveland Cavaliers a discount year after year.
Yeah, but with all due respect to the Miami Heat, they got Jamal McGlory and Zydrunas Ilgauskas outside of those big three. So
you had to get three dudes. You got three dudes.
But Cleveland had their big three. Once they had their big three.
But Kyrie wasn't busting the bank.
But you talk about that, but Kyrie re-upped in Cleveland. Kyrie could have left Cleveland too. Cleveland, as far as Kyrie knew, Andrew Wiggins was about to be his wingman in Cleveland.
Right.
He re-upped in Cleveland not knowing that LeBron was coming. In fact, that's why they had to draft Wiggins, because LeBron didn't sign until after the draft. So Cleveland's not a destination city. More times than not, your reason is correct, but I do believe in the NBA, they're following the players more so than they're following the city. And when you had Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, of course, you got to pick between Toronto, Cleveland, and Miami. You're going to pick Miami. But what if Dwayne Wade played at Utah? What if he was drafted by Utah and you had to pick between Cleveland, Utah, and Toronto? I think they all end up in Cleveland, is my point. So, you know what I mean? I'm agreeing with you, but also saying I don't think it's as simple as where you play. The Lakers...
No. I'm not saying it's all about where you play, but it has a lot to do with it, because if we got the best player of this generation, hands down, and he can't get dudes to come to where he is until he goes to a hot city like Miami or a hot city like LA, and twice. Like, dudes turned him down twice. Like,
but who turned him down twice? When he was in Cleveland, who were you going to get with Kyrie and Kevin Love? They didn't have cap space to go get a big name free agent. That's my point. I'm agreeing with you, but at the same time, when you say it twice, you had J.R. Smith taking less money to come play. You had Amon Shumpert that came in. You had those big name players that maybe necessarily weren't free agents, but they came in, and when they reworked their deals, they accepted less money. But keep in mind, when LeBron went back to Cleveland, LeBron was a champion at that point. LeBron was just a super talented player in Cleveland the first time, just like T-Mac was, just like Allen Iverson. There were so many talented players early on in LeBron's career, but no one was flocking to play with Allen Iverson in Philly. No one was flocking to play with T-Mac in Orlando. So I think it's LeBron. It's not just, there's a lot of good players you can go team up with, but like, for instance, there's a lot of players that had Dame won a championship or proven you could win one there. Like, I guarantee you, Toronto had what's his name? Leonard. Kawhi stayed there. Free agents would be flocking to Toronto.
Toronto was lit.
Because they watched, you could win a championship there. LeBron hadn't proven that you could win a championship in Cleveland. Like, that's my point. Like, Cleveland's not a destination city.
Ray Allen showed up in Miami for a nickel and a ham sandwich.
But like you got to understand, LeBron. That's all the Miami Heat could afford.
But I was saying, Ray Allen, one of the best shooters ever to play basketball, showed up there for a ham sandwich, and you couldn't get. You overpaid J.R. Smith just because. All right, man, they ain't nobody coming. I might as well give my dude some money.
Who were they going to get to come? They couldn't afford anybody. Kev, the reason those guys
exactly they could have got. I don't actually have exact names right now, but
because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. How about that? No. I think what I'm saying is I agree with you, but I do think that the LeBron James aspect of LeBron James wasn't proven the first time around. No one was willing to take less money to go play in Cleveland with LeBron the first time around because it's like there's a lot of talented players around the league that I could take less money to go play with that I would feel more secure in winning a championship. At those last couple of years in Cleveland, it's not like those Cavs team were bad. They were winning the East. You were expected to be as good as the Boston Celtics, and you just weren't getting it. LeBron was proving he couldn't win it early on, winning big games early on. He was dominating the East, dominating the regular season, but coming up short in the playoffs. I think that first time around was that. And then the second time around, LeBron, although did take less money, but he took less money because they had to take care of Kyrie. Kyrie already had his, so LeBron took less so they could work out the deal to get Kevin Love over. And then again, it was the same recipe that was in Miami. You had minimal money that you had to go get veteran minimum players. So that's why when I come, and I'm sure we could look at, because I don't even have players that, there maybe is an example, but Cleveland couldn't just go get anybody to come in there. That's why you had Matthew Dellavedova starting point guard. You had who was the big guy that ended up making bank after that because he had such a great run.
Tristan Thompson.
No, Tristan Thompson, but the big Timothy Mozgov. So you had guys like that, Kev, like in Cleveland the second go round. That it's not like
how'd that work out for the Lakers.
Remember that damn year that everyone was getting paid, like they had a sick amount of money. He got $25 million guaranteed money. Timothy Mozgov. I mean, my goodness,
have a 7-footer.
All right, we'll be back in a moment, folks. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 80. Tonight's going to be mainly clear, a low around 55. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy once again, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
And let me get right back to you. Sandra, those banners go out tonight. Can you pack them? Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin. On machine 4? Like at Monica's Print Shop. To fulfill orders on time, she needs to get started hiring right away. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Yep, I said before. Block heartburn at the source by taking the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. With just 1 pill a day, you get 24-hour heartburn relief. That's all day. Start the 2-week challenge today at prilosecotc.com and live heartburn-free. Just 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call, but managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS. Savings vary. Not all patients eligible for savings. Delivery restrictions apply. Visit cvs.com for details.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsommers.com. That's Sommers with an O, kirklandandsommers.com.
Cub Cadet XT Enduro Series lawn tractors are setting the standard for performance and comfort. Head to your locally owned Cub Cadet dealer, East Lawn and Garden, today and see how the fastest growing lawn tractor delivers more strength, more versatility, and more durability in one lineup. All backed by strong warranties and the genuine parts, accessories, and trained service technicians only your local Cub Cadet dealer can provide. For expert advice, superior service, and exceptional offers, visit East Lawn and Garden, 1632 East Route 36 in Urbana today.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Now at Menards, save big on your next project with 11% off everything. Update your home with new flooring from Shaw. Add comfort with soft and luxurious carpet. Transform the look of any living space with durable laminate flooring. Vinyl plank flooring is waterproof and clicks together for an easy installation. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 10th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Here's football legend Howie Long for Skechers Arch Fit shoes.
Do you like comfort? Of course you do. Everyone does. But if you've never tried Arch Fit shoes from Skechers, you're missing out on next level comfort. Saying you like comfort but not trying Arch Fit is like saying you like Italian food but you've never tried pasta. You're missing out on the number one thing. Because with Arch Fit, Skechers created a whole new kind of comfort. They teamed up with podiatrists who used over 20 years of data to create a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. Arch Fit distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have. You don't need an arch problem to love how they feel. And you say you have a passion for comfort but haven't tried them? That's like saying you're a sports fan but have never watched football. It makes no sense. So if you're the kind of person who claims to like comfort, stop what you're doing and try a pair of Arch Fit exclusively from Skechers. Then you'll finally understand true comfort.
See all the styles of comfortable, machine-washable Arch Fit shoes now at Skechers.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow, here to tell you about my Giza Dream bed sheets. I made sure that they would be everything you'd ever want in a sheet set. I started with the world's finest cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region where the Sahara Desert, the Nile River, and the Mediterranean Sea all meet. The long staple cotton makes my Giza Dream sheets ultra soft and durable. They come with extra wide pillowcases to fit over any pillow and extra deep pockets to fit over any mattress. Not only that, they come with my 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. And now you can get the best sheets ever for the best price ever. When you buy one of my Giza Dream bed sheet sets, you'll get another one absolutely free. I personally guarantee that they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
Go to mypillow.com and click on the radio listener square and use promo code SKY, S-K-Y, for this amazing special, or call 800-635-1825 and use promo code SKY.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So we got the Reds and Pirates tonight, and that's going to be a 6:40 first pitch, 6:10 the pregame will start. We'll get to see Wade Miley for the first time here this season. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to be positive about this Wade Miley starting here tonight. The Reds are 3-1, and if Wade Miley was one of the offseason additions, not last year but the year before, and if Wade Miley continues what the other new additions from 2 years ago are doing, I expect a big night from Wade Miley. Wade Miley, a lefty, which of course it's tough to find some good quality lefties. Miley's a veteran in the league. Used to pitch for the Brewers. It's exactly what the Reds need. Hopefully, now that he's healthy, they're going to get a much better Wade Miley than what we saw in the truncated 60-game season last year, where he was just, they say some guys are unhittable. He was hittable. He was very hittable. So, but he's on the mound tonight, the lefty. I think the Reds need a big-time win today before they go back to the top of the rotation with Luis Castillo tomorrow to close out the series before the Reds hit the West Coast for a bit. But Tyler Naquin will get the start in left field and bat first. Batting second and in right field will be Nick Castellanos. Batting third and at first base is Joey Votto. Eugenio Suarez, he'll bat in the cleanup spot, and he'll get the start at shortstop. He has 3 errors on the season. Again, I don't blame him whatsoever. Every error that Eugenio Suarez commits at shortstop, I am putting in the ownership category, because that is on the ownership for not addressing the shortstop position. Eugenio Suarez, the ultimate team player, switching positions, a star player switching positions for the betterment of the team. You don't see enough of that. Joey Votto refused to switch positions years ago, and to me, I thought that was a horrible teammate decision on his part, and Suarez proven that there are good teammates out there. Batting fifth and at third base is Mike Moustakas. In center field and batting sixth is center fielder Nick Senzel. At second base, batting seventh is Jonathan India. The rookie has been on a tear. It's only 4 games right now, but my goodness, if he even continues at a percentage of this pace, he's going to be rookie of the year with how dominant he has been. Batting eighth, Tucker Barnhart. He's catching tonight, and the pitcher batting ninth, Wade Miley. That is your lineup here tonight for your Cincinnati Reds. All right, that wraps it up for us here today. At least I should say at this part of the show before we hand it off to our interview portion, and that's for when we come back. But a big one tonight, Reds and Pirates. Kev, Reds are 4-1. They're going to be 5-1 when we come back tomorrow, because the Reds play at noon tomorrow.
Speaking into existence.
There you go. Have a great night, everybody. I got to hit the golf course. Take care.
It's the Justin Kinner